Hello, hello, everyone. How are you this spooky night? It's still 31st here, so still Halloween. Totally did not oversleep with my nap. That's why we started late. But how are you? Before we begin, I will do this. How are you? How are you? Tonight we're gonna read some spooky stories from the books that I found through Philippine ghost stories. This book series has been out since my childhood, and we have kept the copies that we have. Well, you hid them and brought them out charming. Yeah, and actually, I think we still have the last three stories in Milky Clear's channel. We'll also read those so that we can be able to read everything. Oh, it's just two more? Really? Hot dog. Oh, actually, this is only one. Okay then. But yes, let's stop with the hot dog music. Let's start with the spooky. Hello, hello, everyone. Hope that you are ready, and hope that I am ready for the spooky atmosphere. We'll bring back the spooky campfire. Hello. We will begin with one story from Milky Clear. This is the last story from the page. It's called My Classmate the Aswang. You might have to get the dog on the legal docs you're working on. But yeah, My Classmate the Aswang is submitted by a user named Sunny. Sunny tells a story from his childhood back when he was still in elementary school. Sunny had his primary education somewhere in Vegan and recalls his classmates quite fondly. However, he also remembers that one weird kid. In some schools, there may be that one kid who runs like Naruto. Well, I had a classmate like that. In others, there was the kid who eats boogers. And in our class, we had a classmate who was an aswang. Sunny says the strange kid's name was Matthew, and he proudly proclaimed to the class that his parents were aswangs, that he also had evil blood in him. He also says that his parents would teach him black magic during the weekends, and that the white streak on his hair was evidence of this. Sonny and his classmates were quick to call on Matthew's crap, though. In fact, Sonny's parents were actually familiar with Matthew's family and told him all about it. Matthew's parents were both well respected and successful individuals practicing law. They were actually quite well known and said to be very reliable by their clients. And as for their son's white streak in his hair, that was due to a condition known as poliosis. They did, however, live in a small, creepy house in the middle of a forested area. But this didn't mean they were any closer from being a witchcraft practicing as swans. You were the kid who ate paper. Despite this, however, Matthew still claimed to his classmate that he and his family were evil and that they would hold demon worshipping rituals at night. We didn't listen to what he was saying anymore, but I guess he was still out, friend. He was weird, but we weren't bullies that we would leave him on his own. Well, who would bully a kid who says he's practicing black magic? That's how you die. In the following weeks, however, Matthew's conviction didn't die down, and he made more efforts to prove his story. Day after day, he would bring trinkets to school and show his friends as proof of his family's witchcraft. At first, he brought dried chicken and cow bones, which he says father used for skeletal scrying. Sunny and his friend were amused by this and played with the bones as toys. Following day, Matthew brought a stick that's wrapped in tar and crow feathers. This one, he says, was his mother's witching stick, which she uses with an incest to call upon evil spirits. Sunny thought it looked more like a feather duster, though, and he and his friends used it as part of their group presentation on their Filipino subject as props. Eventually, it became a trend for them that Matthew would always bring something new and fun every day for them to play with. Some of the most notable things he brought were a bottle of snake oil, a dried skeleton of a medium sized lizard, a wicker doll that was supposedly used for voodoo, and an ornate dagger decorated with red gems. The last one they kept hidden in fear of being confiscated by their teachers. How did the kid bring a knife to school? What the heck? The security of that school. We're able to bring a dagger in school. Sonny says that nothing Matthew brought really sparked any sort of suspicion and concern to them. Though looking back now that he's older, some of them should have raised some flags. One day Matthew gathered his friends. Easy, just put it in your bag. There should be a checking before. Well, in the Philippines, there's always guards checking bags. Yeah, don't do that. Sarah says nothing but you brought them spark any sort of suspicion or concern to them. Though looking back now that he's older, some of them should have raised some flags. One day, Matthew gathered his friends and told them that he had brought something that would finally convince everyone that he was telling the truth about being an aswang. Surrounded by everyone, Matthew brought out a stained handkerchief from his pocket. He slowly unfolded the cloth to reveal a severed and blooded human ear. With a big smile on his face, Matthew asked everyone what they thought. What the heck? Here in Australia, you don't have anything. Oh, in the Philippines, everywhere there's security guards doing checks. Malls, schools, any public building, we have security guards that do bag inspections. But sometimes they are lazy and don't check. We just got used to it. Every public building that we go to, there would be a guard, and we need to open our bags for checking. At first, we didn't believe it straight away, but when I touched it and confirmed it was real, we all ran to our teacher. Snitches! Sunny recalls that Matthew's parents were then called to the school the same day. A few police officers came by as well and questioned them. Sunny never saw Matthew again after that day, but through the grapevine, he heard that the police had actually obtained a warrant to search Matthew's house. There, they found different items for funerals used for witchcraft and satanic rituals. They also found animal parts and whole specimens preserved in formalin jars. Sunny says it's not clear what happened next. Some parents say that they were arrested for child endangerment. Others claim that Matthew's parents leveraged their connections and managed to leave the country. While some more gossip said that Matthew's parents just suddenly vanished one night, leaving not a single trace of their existence. Sonny says that though all these may be plausible, he only wishes he could find out whose ear it was that Matthew brought to them that day. Well, it became real. Why the heck would you want to endanger your family by saying you're aswang? It isn't cool. You'll be hunted. And that was what happened. His family got hunted because he brought an ear to school. How are you, afternoon? Good evening, good evening. Started a bit late, but we are reading spooky stories. It's Halloween night, yeah. Do you like my sexy outfit? And now we start. Hello, Darth. We are starting reading from the books. Can you hear the flipping of pages? The first story is called uh, How Do I Do This Without Covering My Face for Tracking? You're editing something Ooh, I wonder what that is. Let's see this. The first, well, it's our second story for the night, but it is titled The Shadow Game. A very sexy costume. You love surprise. Twitch allowed it. Yes, very sexy indeed. It is called the Shadow Game. Actually, let me return to my human form. So it's funnier. Wait, let me adjust the thing. Hot dog. There. So it covers my face. Hot dog, hot diggity dog. Alright, let us return to reading. It is called the Shadow Game. Nowadays, whenever we have a blackout or brownout, as it is called here in the Philippines, the world seems to stop. That's because we have grown so accustomed to living our lives with electronic gadgets. Cell phones, iPods, microwaves, refrigerators, televisions, computers, the list go on. You know that this book is old because it still refers to iPods. During the earlier times, however, more like a few years ago, a blackout is but normal event and sometimes we enjoy it to the extent that it entails quiet bonding time with our families. I remember when I was a kid, I would secretly wish that the blackout happened at least once a week, so that I can play one of my favorite pastimes with my siblings, the shadow game. We would spend hours beside candles, sometimes as much as five at a time, and make up countless varieties of shapes, animals, and whatnot with our shadows on the wall. As we got older, however, and as electricity in Manila got more stable, the shadow game has since become just another topic to reminisce about whenever we had nothing to do or while we were waiting for our cell phones to reach full battery status. One day, while having an after school meeting, however, the shadow game was brought back, not only to my consciousness, but also to everyone I was with on that fateful day. It was a day that we will definitely remember for the rest of our lives. There were four of us: Trisha, Anne, Jason, and me. Oh, do you play this game also, Paradise? We were at Anne's condo, editing and trying to type the final key pages of our very long thesis, which we should have been able to submit 3 days earlier. At the beginning, everyone was hyped and energized, focused on finishing our final requirement for college. Even Trisha, the sleepyhead, was all up and about. We started at around 6 p.m. and pledged that not until we finished our thesis could we have our much needed rest. All was going well, everyone was contributing, and it seemed like we were on our way to an early slumber. Since we're already using Ant's desktop computer, I didn't bother to charge my laptop, which was already out of lithium juice. Who says lithium juice? After a short dinner around 9 p.m., we were just a few pages short of finishing it when it began. Suddenly, the lights went out, and it was a blackout. Why now? We're this close to getting sleep, said a clearly frustrated Jason while motioning with his hand. Don't worry, it'll only be for a while. We have backup generators here, replied the calm Anne. For the next 15 minutes, however, we remained shrouded in darkness, and that's when I did something I wish I hadn't. I asked Anne if we could light some candles. Well, it seems like tech guys are having a bit of a problem. It wouldn't hurt to have some light here, said Tricia, who by then had already started yawning. Alright, so I enjoyed the lurk. So we searched the kitchen cabinets and found three black colored. Why do they have black candles? Hey Anne, why are all these candles black? It's too early for Halloween, you know. You know what? I actually don't know. I don't even remember where those came from. They didn't bring any candles with me when I moved in last month. You're still such. Yeah, I. When you mentioned it, it sounded so good. But good thing you still have your salad. But make sure you eat if you have something else that you can eat there. Everyone was already busy cleaning up tons of papers and notes so that they wouldn't catch fire. Hello, that's Nell. We're reading some ghost stories. So no one noticed Anne's mysterious remark. After a while, everyone settled around the floor, which was where we decided to light the candles. These candles sure look weird and somewhat scary, commented Trisha, who was covered in a blanket. After a while, everybody was already feeling sleepy when I saw something move behind Jason. I brushed it off, blaming my tired and sleep deprived eyes for the imagination. But after a few moments, I saw it again. This time, much clearer. It seemed like there was another person beside Jason because there were two shadows on the wall. I blinked, trying to make sure I wasn't seeing things, but the shadow remained. Then I saw Anne looking at Jason too, seemingly unable to process what she was seeing. Jason, who was busy texting at the time, noticed our disheveled looking looks, casually asked what was wrong with us. I think something's beside you, I blurted out. My gaze transfixed on the two shadows on the wall. It was then that we saw Trisha motionlessly looking at me, and she slowly said, "The devil is behind you." After Trisha's last word, the flame of the candle started swaying violently, as if a strong wind that we couldn't feel was blowing inside. Our shadows then began to move on their own, and all of us suddenly lost control of our bodies. With everyone in a state of shock, I started praying the Lord's Prayer. Desperate to put a stop to what was happening, all of them eventually joined me, but the shadows continued to move violently on the wall. And a really strong wind started to blow inside the room, sending our thesis materials flying in a vortex. It was as if a small tornado was forming inside the room. In the midst of all the chaos, not knowing what to do, I shouted to my friends that we should try move and hold hands. It was then we all heard an incredibly scary low voice whisper almost to our ears. Burn! It was then we realized that the strong wind was getting closer and closer to the candles, and with it, all our papers and notes. Even with the feeling of hopelessness slowly consuming us, we were able to hold hands. We closed our eyes and prayed for deliverance from whatever demonic entity was trying to hurt us. We prayed out loud, hoping that whatever was in the room would leave us. And before the flames were able to touch the first piece of paper, after we said the last line of the Hail Mary, the gushing wind stopped. Everything fell on the floor and the lights went on again. We opened our eyes and were shocked, to say at least, with what we saw. Everything was back to where they were before the blackout. Dumbfounded, we could only look at each other, speechless. None of us could fathom what had happened. When we looked at the floor where the candles had been, all we saw were three faded marks but no candles. We decided to go out the condo unit to get some fresh air before we packed up and head home. We looked for a security guard to ask him what took the management so long to bring back the electricity. He just looked at us curiously and said, "What are you talking about? There was no blackout." Well, no. It was the candles doing. It was the ghost. And yeah, they were ghosted. Ghosted. Haunted. Don't do candles. Yeah, and it was black. It black candles. It is spooky. This next story is called the Masalang apartment. Wait, the Masalang, is this the one in Manila? The one near our old house? If it is, spooky. Well, our old house in Manila was pretty spooky. It was inside a dark area. It was a small apartment in a dark area. It was spooky going in there. But yeah, let us get started with the story. I was studying in an old university in España. Ah, yeah, this is UST. That's why it's in the Masalang. Since I have lived in Bulacan all my life. My parents and I thought it would be best if I rented an apartment near the university, as traveling daily from Manila to Bulacan would be a really big hassle. And so I convinced three of my cousins, Michelle, Lemuel, and Rosette, who were all studying in the University Belt area, to share an apartment with me. After weeks of searching for a nice enough place, we finally found a two-story apartment in Dimasalang. It's located just alongside the Dimasalang Bridge. The apartment was a bit old, but it was spacious. with three bedrooms on the second floor, two comfort rooms, a laundry area, and a big enough kitchen adjoined to a spacious living room. But more importantly, the rent was cheap and it was very much accessible to all our schools. It was a catch. It was also semi furnished. Apparently, the previous tenants had decided to migrate to the United States. Since they had no place to leave their belongings in, they just left some of their furniture in the apartment. Good for us, we all thought. Why did they migrate? Did they get haunted in this apartment as well? And so my cousins and I moved into the apartment. There were four of us, three girls, one boy. The first few weeks were okay since there was not much schoolwork yet. My cousins and I would all go home at the same time and we have dinner together. It was after a few weeks when strange things started to happen. Two of my cousins, Lemuel and Rosette, had the flu and they had to go home to Bulacan to rest. Michelle was starting to get busy with school and she came home very late every night. My classes ended at 4 from Mondays to Wednesdays, and since I had nothing better to do, I would just go home early and sleep. Since we moved into the apartment, it was the first time I had to spend the night there alone. It didn't bother me at all at first because I hadn't felt anything unusual or eerie yet. I arrived at the apartment around 4:30. I had a light snack and took a nap. I woke up to some strange noises on the first floor. It was 9 p.m., and Michelle still hadn't arrived. I went down to see what was causing the noise. I had forgotten to turn on the lights and it was very dark. When I turned on the lights, I was shocked to see that the kitchen had been messed up. Some of our plates were broken, condiment bottles were all over the floor, and all of our leftover food was scattered in the kitchen counter. I concluded that a cat or large rat had been inside, perhaps looking for something to eat. I checked to see if I had left a window open, which could have allowed some stray animals entry into our apartment. But all the windows were shut. I resolved to talk to my cousins about leaving windows and doors open. Somehow, I forced myself to believe that it was really just a stray animal that messed up our kitchen, but I couldn't help but feel chills run down my spine. What an annoying ghost, littering and ruining stuff. The next week, it was Michelle's turn to experience the supernatural. Her professor for the day was absent, and she had the morning off. She was reading some magazines in the living room after breakfast and fell asleep on the sofa. After a few minutes of napping, she was awakened by some noise in the kitchen, as if somebody was moving the pots and pans. She was very drowsy, but she managed to open her eyes. She saw a lady in white in the kitchen. Her features were not very clear. She was lifting pots and pans, moving them from place to place. She seemed restless. She was carrying pans to the table, to the counter, and to the stove, only to rearrange them again. She was doing the same to the condiment bottles and plates. She couldn't keep still. When the lady realized that my cousin was watching her, she slowly moved to the stairs, which was just in between the kitchen and the living room. She sat on one of the steps, with her head resting on her knees, and watched my cousin into. What the heck? The ghost actually stared back. Oh my god. I would just run away out of that apartment. My cousin, still rousing from sleep and not really sure if she was just dreaming, fell right back to. How the hell would you go to sleep when you saw something like that? When she awoke that afternoon, she was battling with herself. Was she just dreaming or did she really see a ghost in their apartment? What the heck? What would you do if in that scenario? Would you also sleep? Be in denial? The following weekend, we were all in Bulacan when Michelle recounted her experience to us. I decided to tell him what I experienced in the kitchen as well. Lemuel finally spoke up and told us his own story. He said that he would always hear footsteps up and down the stairs at night. His room was closest to the stairs. The first time he heard the footsteps, he put down the book he was reading and went downstairs to check if somebody had broken into our apartment. Crazy tenants. Seeing that nobody was there, he went right up to his room. But to his shock, his room had been messed up. What the heck, this ghost? His medical books were all over the floor. His bed was unmade. The sheets were all rumpled and his pillows were all over the room. He already concluded that there was ghosts in the apartment, but refused to tell us because he didn't want to scare us. Still, we all decided to stay in the apartment at least until the end of the semester. The months passed. It was August. Rosette came home very late from a party last one night. She was too exhausted to just so she just slept on the sofa. It was after 3 a.m. when she felt the sofa was shaking violently. She initially thought that there was an earthquake. She opened her eyes and saw a lady in white clothes right in front of her. What the heck, this lady? She was rocking the sofa back and forth. The lady's eyes were dark and full of rage. My cousin couldn't move her body. She tried closing her eyes, but she still could see this angry lady. She managed to cry for help. We heard her shouting, ran down the stairs to see what was wrong. When we saw her, she was crying. She was trying to cover her face with her bag. My cousin Lemuel literally carried her up the stairs because she couldn't move from fright. When we got up the stairs into our room, she told us what happened. That night, we vowed never to leave each other alone in the apartment until we found another place to stay. Started to look for another apartment the very next day. We managed to move after a few weeks. That's what I'm going to do too. Immediately find another place to move to. After this day, whenever I would pass the Dimasalang Bridge, I would always look at the apartment to see if some unfortunate tenants have moved in. It's almost been 2 years since I moved out, but the sight of the old apartment never failed to give me goosebumps whenever I would pass by the area. Crazy ghost lady. Hello, hello, Gary. How are you? We're reading some spooky stories. Oh, it's a sabot. It's called Bot ng Bayan. It immediately shout outs everyone who speak. I am so lazy that I made a bot. Well, I did not make a bot. I authorized the bot to do that. Next story is a would-be accident. It's by username Sasa Ramos. This story happened to a friend of mine about 4 years ago. So, 4 years ago is probably a very long time since this book was published. Early 2000s, maybe? Zol and two of his friends planned a weekend trip to a province south of Manila to attend a friend's wedding. They took with them not a silent, a silver Toyota pickup, not very new, with a few dents in the rear front showing its history of being a well used car. They agreed that they would each take turns driving. They were all seasoned city drivers and they were excited with the promise of adventure. It would take about 8 hours of expected heavy traffic to reach their destination. They would they each brought with them an overnight bag, a plastic bag of chips, a few drinks for the long ride. A beautifully wrapped box was given to the seat of honor at the back. It was beside Carlos, who decided to take a nap soon as they set off. When they left Manila around 6 p.m. that Friday evening, the traffic along Paranaque was already horrendous. Oh, so it's Manila to south, probably. Because there was no air conditioner, and the pollution and the heat were in and out of the car. It was Maros who tasked to drive first. Beside him sat Zol, who would why are their names like this? Take over the wheel when they stopped over in Quezon province. Ah yeah, so it's South Luzon. It took more than 3 hours to reach South Luzon Expressway, but once they were out of the toll gates, the driving became easier. Yeah, it's Manila traffic. It- It's actually quicker to ride a plane from Manila to Hong Kong than go from Manila to Makati. And sometimes you can go to the province faster than go from Manila to Makati because Manila traffic is crazy. That's why I do not miss commuting. Or where we're there. They stop over for a dinner at the restaurant for a well-known for chicken adobo and chicken inasal, but the parking space was already full of weekend tourists when they arrived. Hello, hello, Captain. How are you? We're reading spooky stories. Inside the restaurant, they had to wait for 30 minutes for a table, but when they were finished, they immediately paid and left. But at this point, it was already quarter past 11 in the evening. With a full stomach, Zol, who was driving, was becoming sleepy. Carlos, as usual, was dozing at the back seat. There was silence inside the car. Fortunately, The radio occasionally played snappy songs, and when the songs was one Zol and Mars both knew, they sang along top of their voices. Carlos woke up once from the back seat and growled as a complaint. After a while, he fell asleep again, lulled by the motion of the engine and the very quiet highway. With a very scary, yeah, it's a scary and sexy form. A sexy hot dog. The roads were dotted with a few street lamps, some shrubs, and thin trees. In the twilight and infrequent blaze of the car lights, the young trees looked like statues alongside of the road. Zol tried to shift the car lights to a brighter, long range mode, but they remained stubbornly in the dim setting. He swore and thumped the switch again. Nothing happened. What's up, pare? The sentence is so corny. What's up, pare? Asked Morris. Was desperately trying to sleep. The long range lights are busted, he swore again. Outside, the wind shrieked through the branches. He squinted the road, seeing only about 2 meters of the road. I should have checked that everything was working fine before we left Manila, he said angrily, his heart beating fast because he felt it was a bad sign. That's okay, Morris yawned beside him, hunching lower the seat. There isn't a soul on the road, see? But slow down if you're feeling so worried. Zolo was cruising about 70 miles per hour on a deserted stretch of highway, feeling the sharp wind nip his ears. After a while, he felt calmer and guided the car to a slower speed. A vehicle in the opposite lane announced itself with a loud and aggressive beep. He further slowed down, squinting against the windshield at the pool of light from the front fender. Approaching bus on his left zoomed by with a roar, momentarily blinding him with the glare of its headlights. Up ahead, like an apparition looming suddenly in the dark night, an old woman or man crossed the street. Her hair was long and white, falling onto her face. She was wearing on a white shirt over a long dark skirt. She must have started to cross directly after the bus whizzed by. She was almost surely 30 seconds away from being run over by their car. Zol, straining hard against the limited light, thumped a warning beep, but she never looked up. Never even gave an indication having heard anything. Determinedly, she hobbled onto the car's path. In desperation, Zol put his foot down hard against the brake and wrenched the steering wheel to the left. In the horrifying split second of madness, when Zol knew that the accident was imminent, he could only repeat, Dear God! Dear God! The next thing he knew, the car was gently crashed down the shoulder of the road. Stones and gravel went flying. My God, Morris gulped beside him, knuckles white against the dashboard at the back. Carlos is just sleeping this entire trip. What happened? Carlos is me during a road trip, only sleeping at the back. Not actually helping because I cannot drive. I will either only sleep or eat snacks in the car. Did you see her? Zol asked, glancing wildly, but there was no one on the road. He started to open his door, intending to get out. Morris, shaking his head, placed an ice cold hand on Zol's suddenly sweaty arm. Let it go. Let's go. But when they passed the bit road where the old woman should have been, there was only the dark and cold breeze whistling through the trees. Then their car's long range bright light suddenly glared, making Zol step even more on the gas pedal, sweat dripping from his forehead because of the unexplainable coldness of the midnight wind. What the heck? Was I muted for that entire story? Where did I? Where where did we stop? Did we finish the accident story at least? I did not even notice. I was just reading. What the heck? That's the spookiest of all. Scuff. Let me drink some water. What the heck? Good thing you told me. Let us move. Let me repeat the story. I was gonna skip the other one because it was actually in Taglish. You were scared when you can't hear me. But did I finish the accident story? Almost accident story? Hopefully, I did. I did not notice that I accidentally muted the mic. But yeah. This one is called Mysterious Death. It's by Minnie Darugongan. Wait. Hello, Rain Kitchen Guy. I'm the Hot Dog Reaper. And we're reading some horror stories. Alright. Way back in 2006, our family received shocking news from my mom's hometown. My cousin hanged himself in front. Oh, trigger warning. Inside a comfort room. Police further investigate case, ruled out any foul play. Disbelieving the incident because my cousin was a truly jolly person, all of us were shocked, remained in a state of denial. Especially because he was religious and supported by his circle of friends. When we got there, I saw him inside the white coffin. Everyone was murmuring about his problems and theories on why he committed such an act. His uncle approached me while I was contemplating, telling me 3 days before the incident there was something wrong with his son. He talked and acted very peculiar. One time, a cousin told him that he saw a faceless black man in the garden. What the heck? The man was looking at him fiercely. He rubbed his eyes, thinking it was just a figment of his imagination. He got scared and left the place immediately. You just got in, you hear a black man. It's a different type of black man. This one is a ghost. As days passed, my cousin seemed restless and oftentimes stared sharply at them. My uncle said it was not like him because he was very composed, somewhat stubborn, and very talkative. Those days he spoke nonsense. He tried to decipher what he was talking about, but all of us could not fathom his words. The morning on the day he was found dead, he got up early and asked the caretaker for some rope that he can use. With no idea at all, caretaker lent him a rope, thinking it was intended use for hanging laundry. Oh. When my uncle asked the caretaker about his son's last moments, he recalled my cousin's face was blank, as if he was not himself. Cousin didn't make any eye contact. On most disturbing thing it was he was murmuring something the caretaker could not understand. As he gave him the rope, he turned his back and left the kitchen. In that instance, caretaker sensed that there was something wrong. After a while, he went to his comfort room. It was locked. He assumed that my cousin was washing clothes, which is very uncommon for him to do because they have their own laundry room. 1 hour passed, caretaker was knocking frantically on the door. He really need to use the comfort room. No one was responding. Feeling that there was something wrong, he tried to peek through the small window. Oh, I'm not gonna read that part. But yeah, he saw the cousin. He yelled so hard, calling for help. Somebody called the barangay tanod. Some neighbors ran to caretaker to open the door in their hope that he might still be alive. They hacked down the door, vigilantly removed the rope and retrieved him, but it was no use. Student nurse who responded noticed that his two legs were flexed as if someone was. Did the ghost do it? Uh, his two legs were flexed as somebody was holding it. The ceiling was quite high and the area was spacious. There would be no hindrances for his lower extremities. The coroner also reported in his findings that there was an alleged chair or toilet bowl holding his knees. The bowl was quite far from my cousin. It was found near the shower area. What the heck? After 6 months, he receives shocking news again. My uncle, which my cousin's father, also. Oh no, the ghost is making them do that. Same location and posture. Many claim that he was taken because of an old superstition. They observed that my uncle wore his son's slippers to the wake, brought him his picture that was displayed on top of his cousin. During his burial ceremony, one Kumar offered a prayer, her service or the duration of the service. But she suddenly screamed, "Don't come closer! Don't look at me! Go away! Please, have mercy!" She became hysterical and were unable to control her, and only calmed down when our relatives took her away from the place. We all got shocked and scared. Maybe my uncle wanted to convey a message to us through the middle aged lady. The family forced to hold a mass to make the souls of my relatives rest in peace in spite of the tragedy. What the hell is this ghost? It's so evil. As for his wife, she fears that this incident might be a start of a curse. So someone suggested for her to consult with an albulario or witch doctor. Upon her arrival, she met an old man with a full white beard and hair. The place smelled like a church, and there were several pictures of saints. On the table, huge images large. They adorned the living room, filling the air with the smell of strong incense and the burnt out candles. The albulario made some rituals and said that my cousin was possessed by an evil entity from the house he was living in. The spirit was under the huge acacia tree, and then there, Monty decided she was going to sell the house. Claimed that my cousin unearthed the hiding place of the entity, and only remedy for free the two souls was to remove the remaining materials or spells, thereby ending the curse permanent. Oh, so there was an entity that controlled the two of them. The next day, they proceeded to the house. They saw the huge tree, and the albulario circled it to find what was hidden. He found a small cigar box sticking out of a pile of soil. When he opened it, he saw pictures of a girl and a letter that contained rage and hatred for the girl and some pieces of jewelry. Also, a suicide note. He noticed that the letters were all yellowed up and dated back in the 1950s. Ah, it was a vengeful ghost possessing them. That's why it made them do that. Making some rituals, he said that the box was buried to keep the memory of the dead person out of the family's life. The girl and the authors of the letters both committed doing that in the bathroom because their parents didn't like them to be together. After a series of deaths, the family buried the box knowing it contains the anger of the couple. Also, they already knew that there was something wrong. Unfortunately, it was again exhumed, releasing the negative energy trapped inside. The albulario decided to have the box moved to nearest church for a blessing. Also performed some rituals to free the soul trapped inside. My aunt asked the albulario if the superstition to bring something home from the wake was true. He explained that it may be true, but the thing is, both of them were caught at the lowest points of their lives. Superstition may have been heightened the spirit's negativity and found another person to victimize as well. 2 years passed, but the death of my relatives remained an unsolved mystery. I pray they both find peace wherever they are. Oh, that is a bit creepy. I don't want that. I don't want to see a faceless entity. All right, the next story. I'm not muted, right? The next story is called "When One Is Too Many," a doppelganger story. Oh, it's about doppelgangers. I experienced a doppelganger story once in the office when one of my coworkers suddenly went into the comfort room, then stayed there for quite a while, and then she entered the room again asking us about work stuff. But we thought that she was in the bathroom. That's because the bathroom was just behind us. So then we opened the bathroom, no one was there. So yeah, that's my experience in one of our work offices. It was pretty creepy when that happened, but we just tried to forget about it. There was also an incident where somebody was sleeping in a common area couch. They woke up, there was a nun praying over them. Moral of the story: office is equals to bad. Yeah. Work from home is good. Plus, there's no need to commute when you're working from home. All right, let's begin the story. College life, they say, is the most important chapter of our education, as it is when we get to choose the thing we would want to do for the rest of our lives. However, aside from all deadlines, assignment, their professors, and thesis works, college is also the time for almost unrestricted freedom for young adults. Old enough to go to places on our own, this is the time when out of town gimmicks with our barcada are a must, especially during semestral breaks. College students practically get high on the last day of exams. It marks several weeks of booze, road trips, and bumming around. I had one such trip after a particularly trying semester during my sophomore year. Weeks prior to the end of the classes, my barcada already planned a week-long stay in a scenic Ilocos. Oh, nice. Itinerary also included other stopovers such as Vigan and Sagada. Psyched and itching to get their exams over with, all of us, four girls and four guys, are already packing our things days ahead. Joel, my closest friend in the bunch, had already been to Ilocos countless times because his family owns a small compound there, including the house that we were supposed to stay in. He told me several supernatural stories about the place years before, particularly about a ghost that supposedly captures a person's appearance, but I never took them seriously. Always laugh at him trying to scare a person who had no third eye. Hey, even if they were true, I won't be able to see them. I don't have powers like you. I would teasingly say. Oh, you will regret saying that probably. At last, the fateful day came. A day after the school administration officially declared the end of the first semester. We were gathered at Vince's house at 5 a.m. waiting for the huge Ford E250 van that would take us to our planned vacation. Everyone was clearly excited, but for different reasons. Some were eager to go shopping for native products, some wanted to see the beautiful views, but all of us shared at least one thing. We just wanted to relax and unwind for at least 4 months of academic agony. What I want is to buy longanisa, a vegan longanisa. Joel, however, was noticeably a little bit uneasy. What's the problem? I asked. Nothing. I just didn't sleep well last night. He replied, ecstatic about the trip. I brushed my observation and I shouldn't have. Oh, quite ominous. After an hour, our ride arrived and we started our trip. Everyone was comfortable and cozy inside the luxurious vehicle. This is the way to travel, remarked Eliza. During the entirety of the trip, Joel remained silent, managing just a few laughs, even when everybody else was ready to roll on the floor with delight. Finally sat behind him and seriously asks what I finally sat beside him and seriously asked him what's wrong. I'll tell you, but don't tell anyone, okay? He said, and I agreed. Then he recounted what his grandmother, who was living in Locos, told him over the phone the night before. She said that it was back. Oh. Joel said in his conyo tone, of just scared. It? I asked. The doppelganger dude. The one that caused trouble in our house 10 years ago. The one that caused Lolo to. Why is this stories always ending in that? The grandfather died. He replied, although I was skeptic, I tried to play along with the idea. How can a doppelganger do such a thing? Then Joel told me how the entity supposedly mimicked his grandmother jumping off the third floor of the house, which made the grandfather do that to himself. Ah, that's why. Hello, Apollo, how are you? We're reading spooky stories. It's the doppelganger's way of saying that it owns the house, frighteningly said. After that conversation, I decided to change the topic to take Joel's mind off the idea. I tried to reassure that nothing will happen and we're all going to have a great time. After what seemed like an eternity of driving on asphalt, finally arrived at the house. It was a very old but well maintained mansion, thanks to the caretaker who was curiously staying in the hut outside the house. Not wasting time, we went to the big guest room, decided we were all going to stay there so that we could bond more. Actually, all of us were couples, so we just wanted to make the trip more memorable for all of us by staying in one room. After arranging our things, we immediately headed to visit the places that were part of our itinerary. When we got home, it was already late. We were dead tired from walking and sightseeing. Settling down in our room, each of us cuddled with our partners and started telling different stories from school. We were all having a good time when Joel suddenly felt silent again. Seated beside me, I asked him quietly why, and all he said was, "It's here. It's listening." With that, I felt a chill in my nape as if somebody was pressing hard against it. I looked at my girlfriend and she seemed too drunk to be able to press that hard. Still, I ignored the idea and got up to wash my face. Everyone was fast asleep when we heard Joel screaming in the balcony. All got up, froze when we saw Vince at the edge of the railing about to jump. He was screaming his girlfriend's name, Eliza, but before Eliza, who was crying confusion at the time, could run out to him, Vince shifted his body and jumped. Waiting in an emergency room for a few hours, the doctor said Vince was going to be alright. We all just thanked the caretaker who managed to place a mattress right before Vince hit the ground. After a while, I talked to the caretaker alone and asked what really happened. What he told me scared the hell out of my system. I knew I didn't like that you guys were here, so I remained vigilant. When you were all asleep, I saw a young lady jump off the third floor, but disappeared right before she hit the ground. That was when your friend came out screaming her name. The doppelganger doesn't like people staying inside the house. That's why I stay outside. I suggest you find another place to stay, the caretaker said. What the heck? That ghost is selfish. Acting like they own the place. They just wanted to relax, dude. You don't have to kill them. The heck? And now let us read from another book. Let me go here. How are you guys? Are you still okay? hmm Here we go. We have a story titled Trapped, submitted by Sharon. Recently, I watched the movie The Anothers, a story of trapped ghosts inside a house. I encountered such problem in a house in one of the poshest subdivisions in Quezon City. In that house was a high volume of entities. Many have claimed that the house was haunted. It used to be owned by former senator, and when sold to a son of a newly elected mayor of the city, after 8 years of being vacant. Everyone who visits the home was amazed by the stained glass with flowers and leaves design. It looks like nature was frozen in time. The three-story structure houses 7 rooms and 10 bathrooms. Ooh, that's a lot. But more for mid. Why does it have 10 bathrooms? What the heck? What are you doing with 10 bathrooms? It's only have 7 bedrooms. That's too much bedrooms. Well, we only have a small house with a bathroom, but isn't that excessive? 10? How many people use the bathroom at the same time? What the heck? But more formidable than the house is the gate made of bulletproof, thick treated glass. Etched in the middle of the gate is a family insignia. The kitchen is fully equipped with all the amenities money can buy. However, it only plays host to 3 people: Jenny, Bernie, and their son Kyle. One day, Jenny called me up and she was very hysterical. She claimed that saw a pair of red glowing eyes inside the storage room. Oh, hell no. Sometimes her son would talk to someone she does not see. She was worried that her son would possessed by whatever he was seeing or that the entity would hurt him. Bernie also told me incidents of haunting. Said that one night he went down to get the baby bottle for Kyle. He saw a woman sitting at the foot of the stairs. Assuming that she was one of the house helpers, he asked her why she was still up. The woman sobbed, not answering. He assumed that she was homesick and was thinking of going home. The woman then said that her son was lost. For years, she has been searching for him. He was a lot like Kyle, the woman said. Bernie offered his political connections to search for her son. The woman said that it was close to impossible to seek out someone he does not know. Bernie told her that he was glad and decided to be employed in this house. As he turned to go upstairs, the woman disappeared. Bernie immediately went to their room and curled up in bed. Jenny was asking him what was wrong, told her about what he saw. The next day, she asked all the house staff to assemble in the mess hall. She asked them if there was anyone among them with a missing child. No one was. The chambermaid then approached Jenny, who was then beginning to get irritated. She explained that they too often see the woman at the bottom of the stairs. After several months, Jenny moved a full body mirror from their living room to her walk in closet. He was fascinated with the old mirror, with a brown stained frame with flower carvings extending to the base of the frame. That evening, she was asked to attend a function in a hotel in Makati, and when she was organizing her husband's suit, her dress for the occasion, a hand reached out from the mirror and grabbed her by the shoulder. What the heck? She turned her back and saw the hand getting back into the mirror. Oh hell no. Break the mirror. Terrified, she went downstairs, picking up Kyle and went to her mother's house. From there, she called her and informed me of what happened. She just left. Well, basically that's what I'm going to do too if I experience that. I would just leave. Terrified, she went downstairs. Oh yeah, I already read that. Bernie scheduled a priest to bless their home. Believing that the entities would not return, the family moved in for a fresh start. After a few months of peace, the terror began anew. Kyle's kiddie bike was in a storage room. He managed to go into the room, but the door suddenly closed behind him. Say no to old mirrors, yeah. It might have entities in them. She thought Kyle was again picking a fight with the maid. Then the screams became a call for help. She ran upstairs, opened the storage room, and found her son in fetal positions, unconscious. When Kyle regained his consciousness, Jenny asked him about what happened. He said he saw an entity, a girl about 4 years old. She was dressed in pink pajamas and she had red, glowing eyes. She tried to grab him by the nape. He tried to escape, but the door was locked. Jenny had enough of the haunting, and at the eve of All Souls Day, we went to the house. All entities were expected to be awake. We advised them to take Kyle and their pregnant maid out of the house for the day. Each of their room had different temperature readings. The coldest room was the storage room in the ground floor. Since the room was inhabited by peculiarly dark, we're sure that the room was the center of all the apparitions. I sent Andrew, the best clairvoyant of all, to the storage room. Sifted through the junk inside the storage room, discovered that the entity came from an old trunk. Jenny said that the trunk was a gift from her mother-in-law, and that's why we should not keep antiques. Jenny said that the trunk was a gift from her mother-in-law, an antique that came from the provinces of Ilocos. The trunk was made from Nara. Floral design flowed from the base of the trunk towards the tip of the arch. The locks and metal edges were made from dark metal, also carved with flowers and small vines. Was never used. Jenny found it too creepy. Why did you keep it? When Andrew opened the trunk, he jumped and fell on his back. He saw a small girl with red glowing eyes. He described her to us, and Jenny agreed it was a ghost that Cal's. What the heck? Why did you open the chest alone? Oh, show my hot dog. What? It is not on this page, but let me put it. One moment. Let me be careful because I might accidentally use the wrong image for the hot dog. Is this the correct? Ah, it is too big. It covered the entire screen. A screen. There's the hot dog for you. We are matching. Look. You have acquired the points for hot dog. Let me put it over here. There, at the corner. Actually, this one. Why is the September goes still here? So yeah, it will stay here. At the September goes here. I forgot to remove that. There. The hot dog would stay there beside me. It's my brother. A hot dog brother from another bun. All right, we're still talking about the ghost from the chest. It described her to us, and Jenny agreed with the ghost that Kyle saw. Andrew said that the apparition was a resident of the trunk. During wartime, her parents hid her in the trunk during a raid of Bataan to avoid capture. Andrew said that when he communicated with the little girl, she said that her parents would seek her out and take her home. Andrew looked at me, telling the ghost did not know she was dead. To avoid the ghost throwing a tantrum, he made several phone calls trying to track down her parents. We only knew the first owners of the trunk were the Bautistas. They claimed that their parents got the trunk from a house about to be demolished in the town of Pilar, Bataan. Oh, hello, Mati the Mat. Happy Halloween. We're just reading some spooky stories today. That morning, we took the trunk to Liang. Her residents pointed us to the house near the brook. The owner, Asunción Bautista, informed us that her mother was the one who sold the trunk to Jenny's mother-in-law. Said that the original owners of the hacienda were the De Leons. They heard that the dead girl in the trunk. Oh, they knew about the dead girl in the trunk. I'm a winner, yeah. It's very sexy. She said that number of people have been buried in a common gravesite. We could find records of war museum located in the province capital. After more phone calls and legwork, we found out the girl's name was Josefina. She was indeed buried in a common gravesite. Her mother was killed by Japanese invaders, while father struggled for a few months in guerrilla camps and was killed during the Death March. Josefina was kept inside the trunk to escape the Japanese troops. She was only 4 years old. Unfortunately, the child was hit by a stray bullet, killing her instantly inside. Ah, poor baby. Unfortunately, the child was hit with a stray bullet. She discovered after her liberation only her bones remained. They asked permission from the local province to bury the trunk in the nearby church, give the child the blessings of the church. We got back to Jenny's house. Bernie, Jenny, and Kyle are now living in another high-end subdivision in Quezon City. He won the elections and became a congressman. Kyle now has a happy baby brother, Kevin, and he's a clairvoyant. All right, that is that story. It's a child in a trunk. Now you read The Haunted Library. You're gonna be working on your cosplay, not for Halloween, but for content. You'll be here listening. Ooh, what are you cosplaying? Let's see, what is The Haunted Library about? It was camping time in my school. Kane from the Amazing Digital Search. Oh, is that the new thing that I'm seeing on Twitter? It's a new show. Oh, have you experienced that? Have you experienced camping at school? I experienced that during high school. It was fun. We cooked sinigang in a campfire. You have to make the mask by yourself, and you think it's yes, clownish and colorful. Nice. All right, let's begin. All Girl Scouts are required to enter camping competition. Many of my classmates knew about my eccentric ideas about religion and supernatural studies. I was often there to go inside dark places to hunt for ghosts and spirits. Oftentimes, I got to fool them, not on that camping night. Everyone was stuck inside their mini sleeping bags inside the classrooms. As one of the Girl Scout officers, I was tasked to secure the place by sleeping in an open air stage in the middle of the grounds, which had a complete view of the rooms. Only ground floor rooms were occupied. Rooms on the second and third floors were vacant. Rosemary, our tomboyish classmate, was our president. Standing in the middle of the stage, dared me to go to the upper floors to see if there were ghosts. I refused. Rosemary decided to go up with some of the girls. They scared themselves silly. At 1 a.m., Rosemary, another classmate, and I decided to do a security sweep to find out if anyone was doing something or still awake at the time. And we got down from the stage, something made a crushing sound in front of us. When I pointed my flashlight at it, when I pointed my flashlight at it, I saw that it was a 1 gallon beaker from third floor laboratory. Oh, somebody threw a beaker from the laboratory. That's broken glass. That's not safe. Rosemary alerted our advisor, the guards, about the beaker. We all proceeded to the lab. I was the last to reach the lab. I saw everyone's face was Ashen and they were standing frozen at the door. They were frantic, whispering at each other. They wanted someone to call the director, which was also the parish priest, but no one was moving. Managed to squeeze and found the lab equipment flying. What the heck? The things were flying? We found the lab equipment floating and flying across the room. Some were swinging wildly, missing us by inches. Some were dancing in midair. At the top of my voice, I yelled, "Stop it!" Then all the floating objects fell on the floor. When the guard was surveying the room, really nobody acted except this person. The guard was surveying the room with the aid of flashlight. I saw a 9-year-old girl at the corner of the room. She was wearing a school uniform, but it was different from ours. That gave me an idea that the entity did not study in our school. Her uniform was really old, and she was shyly peeking at us from behind a chair. I heard one auntie telling her that they should leave it and that they were found already. Oh, it was naughty ghosts doing pranks. I switched on the light in the laboratory and took the beaker, filled it with water, and doused my classmates until they snapped out the shock. It doesn't even water at there. After the count, the three of us were summoned to the principal's office for questioning. Unfortunately, as expected, the principal didn't believe our account of the story. "We're just having a bad dream," the principal said. Really? A bad dream? Going to the third floor with floating things. I was ordered to go to the rector for counseling and spiritual cleansing. Next Friday, four of our classmates seated near the front door of a third floor classroom suddenly gave out a deafening shriek. Apparently, they saw a book floating along the corridor. Everyone ran, screaming to the corner of the room. I stood up from my seat and went out and followed the book. Upon reaching the lab, the book fell on the floor. The child ghost was playing around. When I got back, there was no one in the classroom. Everyone went to the church to the rector. The parish priest went to the lab and blessed its surroundings. A few months passed and the students were spared from any other supernatural activity. Until one rainy day. Since it was lunch, a handful of students went to the canteen to have lunch. In our section, Rosemary and I stayed behind, sitting in the stairs facing comfort room. So Rosemary entered the comfort room, and I was talking to her from outside, asking about the activity to be done before our second subject. I got no answer for 15 minutes. Angrily, I went inside the comfort room to confront Rosemary. To my surprise, no one was there. Worse, I saw Rosemary behind me with a puzzled expression. He was asking, oh, it's just like the experience that I had at the office. We were all surprised that she was there asking us about work stuff when she went into the bathroom behind us. And we were talking about how long it was taking for her to come out because somebody also wanted to use the bathroom. You said a first tongue last night. You can find. Oh no! Hope that you find it. All that effort. I was asking where I have been, and she did not enter comfort room when I thought she did. It was not her. You're gonna use it for Kane. I hope that you be able to find it. Late that afternoon, I had a library duty. Miss Melanie, the librarian, asked to close the library after my shift ends. One of my duties was put the borrowed books on the shelves. Every time I put one back on the shelf, I found a higher pile of books on the table. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw books flying out of. What, this ghost is so rude. I got really pissed off remembering what my lolo taught me. All entities are lower than humans. Calling all the spirits, I counted to 1 to 10 after taunting them to return the books they took from the shelves. I later opened my eyes and I saw a clean table. At the door, I saw a young girl around 4 years old dressed in pink ruffled clothes. Her skirt was torn on one side. She had a pair of beautiful eyes with a Shirley Temple hairdo. What's a Shirley Temple hairdo? I told her to go home since it was already late. She told me that she lives in the school. I handed her some candies, and smiling, she accepted them. Suddenly, a huge dictionary was lying across the room and about to hit me in the head. Next thing I knew, I was lying on the floor. I woke up in the clinic with my Lola scolding me endlessly about being clumsy. What the heck? You were given candies and you hit him on the head with books. It was probably a very big book to make him unconscious. The next day, I saw the girl again. She said she was sorry that, oh, it's a brother. Her brother was very protective of her. I asked her where she was living. Pointed at the old acacia tree in the middle of the school. She said it was not funny. From then on, we kept seeing each other inside the. Really? He just keeps talking to the ghost. Then we kept seeing each other inside the library. Sometimes she would help me with the books. At exactly 5 p.m., without fail, she'd disappear. Thank you for the headpats for Kuma. One afternoon, the old lady guard entered the library and asked me if I could close early. She had a meeting to attend to, and I said that the little girl was with me and I would have to send her home first. But when we looked for the girl, she was gone. The lady guard asked me to describe the girl to her, and I did, and I told her about the girl's claim that the acacia tree was her home. Guard told me that there were really people buried under the tree. On various occasions, the tree was scheduled to cut down, but no one's brave enough to do that. Most of the people buried there were fetuses and kids under the age of 7. Those who were buried there were indigent people whose families couldn't afford decent burial. Parish priests then allowed the families to bury their dead in the lot where the acacia tree stood. That was before the school was built. Why is it always all the schools here in the Philippines? There's always a story that it was a former cemetery. I don't know which is true anymore. I think all our schools that I went to was said to be an old cemetery. I then understood why there was a huge statue of Mother Mary near the acacia tree. From then on, the little girl and her brothers regularly roamed the corridors. 22 years later, oh, that's a long time, I went back to quest the little girl that still haunts the corridors of the school. We asked the school administrator to allow us to sleep on the stage to have a full view of the premises. Went up the stairs in the newly renovated comfort room where I taught Rosemary enter when we were in high school. Around 4 p.m., we heard the sound coming from the old laboratory. We were approaching the laboratory, the crashing sound became louder. When my colleague opened the door, nothing was out of the ordinary. When we heard the several footsteps behind us, Andrew, my colleagues, followed the footsteps. Footsteps stopped at the library. I opened the library and saw that all the books were on the floor. Shelves have been emptied out. Oh, the librarian would probably be so frustrated because they need to pick up all the books again every time the ghost played with them. The rest of the team gathered in the library looking for a way to communicate with the little girl. Took out several candies from my pocket and stood in front of the door. In an instant, I saw the little tyke still dressed in the same pink dress she was wearing when I first saw her. In the library, she smiled when she recognized me, taking the candies out in my hand. My team took out their cameras and several paraphernalia to capture the ghost presence. One of my teammates, Melanie, started to focus the camera on the little girl when a huge book flew out the air, hitting her on the head. The little girl vanished into thin air. Andrew took out his holy water, doused the library with the acacia tree with it. We offered candies and I offered a small stuffed animal for the little girl. Presence of the little girl was still felt after our request. We only wish her family would recognize her and try to give her peace she deserves. Aww. It is cute a little bit, but still, it's an annoying ghost that throws stuff and messes things up. And now let's see. Oh, this is the scariest thing of all. The kid in my office. Oh my god, I'm already scared of the title. It's a child. Oh, it's still who is Sharon anyway? I think Sharon is a paranormal investigator. Most of her stories are in these books. You can find it. You don't want to cut my hoodie again. Maybe it's still there. The ghosts are just hiding it. Joke. But yeah, hopefully you find it so you don't need to make a new one. All right, let's begin. The kid in my office. This story was told by me. The story was told to me by my sister Jamie. Hello, yay! How are you? We're reading spooky stories. She works in a mall in Manila. It was first day of her job as an accounting manager. when she encountered several paranormal incidents in her office. My house is actually spiritually active. You bring a lot of spirits in on accident. Oh no. Do you experience paranormal encounters as well? First story was April 26, 2003. Oh, so this has been printed quite a long time. Oh, spooky. I wouldn't know what to do. I'll probably move if I if our house was haunted. It was late and the mall was already deserted. A loud crash echoed across the halls. The guard immediately rushed to the area. A glass panel in the store was broken to tiny pieces. They searched the place but saw no one. Panel was replaced a day after, but it was broken again and night after. Several days later, the management replaced the window and Jamie decided to place a guard up front. Around 2:30, why is the accountant there at this time of night? What are they doing? Around 2:30 a.m., the security chief rushed into his office to the guard on duty side. He said he found a kid standing near the window. However, the guard who had been there for hours said that no one was near the window, let alone a kid. They argued that until they decided to post more guards. Incident occurred again of them seeing that one time or another kid near the window. Upon closer inspection, they would find no one there. A priest was called to bless the area. This stopped the haunting of the place. January 20 January 2004. A meeting was held late afternoon. Suddenly, a kid entered the room and tapped them on the shoulder. What the heck? This kid ghost. The mall manager got angry and asked whose kid it was. Employees claimed no one brought their kids with them. Suddenly interrupting a meeting and tapping everyone on the shoulder. What the heck? This one, February 2004, Jamie went out to lunch. Her office workers saw a small child playing in her desk. She was drawing something on the papers Jamie left on her table. Her assistant went in to put Jamie's mails on her desk. The kid looked up and smiled. Jamie returned. Her assistant said that her daughter was cute. She said she didn't have a daughter. What the heck? This kid. July 2004, there was a big production happening in the mall's basement. Everybody was busy putting in lights and setting up a huge monitor. They tested the monitor. The director saw a small girl in blue shorts and red blouse playing on the stage, in front of camera. A producer got angry, yelled at everybody to take the girl out of the room because she was disturbing them. Staff complained and claimed that there was no kid. Producer got up in the control room booth and went to see himself. There was no kid there. November 2005. Salesgirl from a candy shop near the escalator kept complaining of her goods were often disturbed, that the staff needed to fix the display before mall opening. Management decided to place a camera to see who was responsible. Next morning, store owner stormed the office and complained that a kid was allowed inside the mall after operating hours. Posted guard that night near the candy store to observe. Next morning, they requested to be assigned elsewhere. They claimed that they saw things flying from the candy store. No one was there. What the heck? The ghost kid was taking candy from the mall. January 2007, a new mall manager was stated. Everybody, the staff would see the kid in the office. Manager started being puzzled why the papers on his desk would always be mixed up despite his efforts to arrange them accordingly to important. He decided to call a meeting to inform the staff about this. The staff in the chorus told him about the kid in his office. They decided to hold a mass to give the kid her peace. After several masses, the kid was still seen on the place. They decided to investigate. They dug up old records and found no anomaly. Also drew a sketch of the child according to how employees describe her and posted the same in Jamie's firm. She recognized the small tot. An employee from Pampanga said the kid was the daughter of first mall manager. Andrea was the kid's name and she died of leukemia. The employee continued that Andrea frequented the mall back then and she'd like to play on the escalators. Her mother was devastated when she passed away and decided to resign from work. She and her husband decided to migrate to the United States. March 2007, a woman fell down an escalator going down. Said that a small girl was blocking her way and refused to budge. Lady lost her balance and fell. The guards asked her to describe the girl to them. It was Andrea. Everyone was dumbfounded why she was still in the mall after all efforts were given to give her peace. Four more incidents occurred, including sudden shattering of the glass protecting the mechanical stairs. No one was hurt, but the management received several warnings from the local government because seemingly lack of security and safety efforts. Jamie was depressed because of the incident she might lose her job. One night she sat at the bottom step of the escalator. She cried her heart out, talking to no one. Her outburst was heard throughout the hallway. She was questioning Andrea why she had to sabotage her job. The escalator suddenly was turned on. Jamie stood up and shouted at the moving stairs. Suddenly, a small child clad in white communion dress was holding a small doll in her left hand showed up. Her face was dark, her hair was a mess, her pigtails were loose. Andrea faced Jamie. The escalator stopped. At this moment, Jamie was frozen at her feet. Operation showed her hands to Jamie. They were filled with blood and specks of gold dust. Then the kid disappeared. All the glass along the escalator shattered. Tiny pieces cut through Jamie's face and arms. Fell down the floor unconscious. Waking up at the hospital, her parents asked what happened. She sustained several cuts and bruises. She told them about the kid. What the heck, this kid? A nightmare. April 2007, it was midsummer. Everyone was at the mall enjoying the air conditioning. Jane was on her way to the food court when she passed a small crowd of people. She felt someone tugging on her coat, but she ignored it. After lunch, Jane proceeded to her office. She immediately noticed small drops of blood on the floor. Embarrassed, she went to the bathroom thinking that she might be menstruating, but she was not. Puzzled, she put her hand on her coat's pocket. Her fingers came in contact with something. When she brought it out, she saw that it was a doll drenched in blood. Jamie passed out. As she came to, she called me up and asked me to investigate again. April 2007, me and my team went to Andrea's relatives to ask what really happened to the little girl. Her Lola said she died peacefully. There was neither remorse nor violence. She was buried in public cemetery near the mall. April 2007, early morning, we proceeded to Andrea's grave. The office informed us that the grave was already reconstructed. Apparently, the coffin was resold and kids' bones were buried in a common grave. As we walked out the cemetery, an old man introduced himself as a gravedigger. Said the body of Andrea was stolen just a week after she was buried. The body was sold by her brother to the nearby nursing university. Yes, the university we found the body was dumped in an empty lot near them. We told Jamie what we found out and immediately asked the owner of the lot. Some people dig the place. They found a well-preserved skeleton of a young girl and a baby doll by her side. She was buried on her grandmother's estate. That's why she was haunting. What a nice looking hot dog. Hello, hello. Do you like my hot dog? That's why the ghost was haunting the mall. Her remains got buried carelessly. All right, that is that. Give taste. Say ah. Which hot dog do you want? All right, the next one is called The Letter. It was submitted by Gina. Wait, I have the emote for that. There. I offered the hot dog. All right. This story was told by my professor. When his wife died, he was supposedly where he suddenly weary of life. Recovery from his wife's death became too impossible. He was trying to pick himself up after the funeral. Your laugh is so contagious. Many advised him to quit his job and return to his hometown. He refused, saying that it would do him good to stay in the city and try to go on with his life. From then on, every school year, he was not himself. His strict nature mellowed down to the point that he just sat in front of us, staring at the walls, instructing us just to open our books and do the textbook. We have all alerted the faculty about this new teaching approach, asked them to give him time to recover from his pain. I decided to volunteer and talk to him, maybe help him open up. You can stop laughing, you can focus on your Kane cosplay. One afternoon, I approached him in the cafeteria, casually started the conversation. I said I was sorry for his loss. He said that he was having these weird illusions and dreams, more like nightmares. Kept on seeing his wife in his dreams. He was trying hard to decipher if there was any message, any sign, any symbol in those dreams. But all his efforts seemed futile until he told me one incident. There was a knock on my door. Mail for you, Mr. Matthews. For me? I was shocked to see who sent the letter. It was from my wife, Maria. The letter said, John, it's been 5 years. How have you been? I've missed the walks along the bay, the laughter we shared for 22 years. Do you still remember me? I want to see you again, John. I'm waiting here at our special place. I will always be here, praying for the day that I may see you again. I know it's hard for you to understand. This is a time that I need you to be strong, to be well, and to be at peace. There's nothing I can say to cure your unhappiness. Only thing I know is that I will always love you. You are part of my existence. I never left you. Never. Don't blame yourself. Your beloved Maria Regine. What the heck? Did the ghost write to the husband? Yeah, John was the name of the professor. It was a letter from his wife Maria. He claimed that somebody must be pulling a prank or a sick joke for after all this time his dead wife came to life through the letter. It became even harder for him to recover after that. Professor John pulled my hands and asked me, what if she was truly waiting for me? Impossible, dead people can't write, I said. But didn't stop him from thinking about the dreams, the nightmares. Maybe I just miss her. I can't move on. Is this mere obsession or am I becoming crazy? I began to pity him. He who had the reputation of being a terror in class was reduced to a picture of a lost sheep. We all knew that his wife died of leukemia, a sickness she kept from her family for a long time until the last few months of her life. Professor was devastated when he learned about it. There was no hope of recovery. Crazy? I was crazy once. He continued his contemplations, but I let her die. I didn't do anything to save her. I just let her die like that. My professor paused for a while. The only one truth, she is dead. I told him that maybe there was something in the letter that she needed to do, a message or a sign, that he must move on. Then the bell rang. It was time for my class. Feeling guilty, I left him at his saddest moment. The next day, he sent a note to my class, asking my other professor if I may be excused. I immediately ran to the faculty. I saw Professor John slumped in a chair. His facial hair had grown, his eyes were deep, mirroring his sorrow. He used to be a handsome, young, breathy professor we all knew. His deep brown eyes, his rosy cheeks, and fair skin used to make girls swoon, but his meticulous nature pushed everyone to his limit, training us to be somebody better. Immediately asked me to sit down, told me what happened the night before. When I got home, I took off my jacket and I was walking towards my room. Suddenly, I felt a weird presence. It was as if someone was staring at me from behind. Tried to ignore it, then suddenly noticed I couldn't reach my room no matter how fast I walked towards it. Presence some presence of someone staring at me from behind became even stronger. I decided to stop and ask, "Is somebody there?" No answer came. Then, just when I was ready to once again try to reach my room, I thought I saw something move from behind me. I turned and checked who was there. And there it was. Something monstrous. It wasn't human. Professor John was visibly spooked as he recalled the incident. What the heck did he saw? It's so easy to understand you because I have a Norwegian accent. Yours kind of similar. It's so hard to understand everyone else. Good thing you guys can understand me because I usually mumble and trip over my words when I talk. It had a very long hair reaching the floor. It was sitting on a wheelchair. It was in a bloody mess. Blood was covering its trails. I noticed that it was getting nearer, closer and closer to me. What are you? I had to ask but didn't get a reply. It just pointed its finger at me while getting closer. Stay back! I shouted at it. I ran to my room and locked the door. Didn't look like my room anymore. It looked like a hospital room. I could see a doctor. I saw myself and Maria. It's your grandma! What's your grandma doing here? She was lying on a hospital bed with the medical instruments attached to her body. I could hear myself and the doctor talking. Isn't there anything you can do? You're a doctor. You should be able to do something to save her. I said, a little bit hysterical. I'm sorry, Mr. Matthews. She's very ill now. There's nothing we can do. The doctor said, why, Maria? No, I can't let you die. Saw myself wailing. And then my head suddenly felt heavy. My vision was becoming blurred. I think I was falling asleep. When he woke up, he found himself curled under his bed. Creature, whatever it was, wasn't there anymore. Maybe the creature was his thinking of his wife made the creature. That's what his wife looked like to him when she was dying. Maybe I crawled from under the bed. Everything looked normal, as if nothing happened. My head was really hurting. My professor began to cry. He was curled up in his chair like a frightened child. I saw the letter atop his table and took it and tried to examine the dates and postmarks. I noticed that the letter was mailed 5 years ago, but was just delivered just a week ago. I immediately went to the oh, maybe the wife post dated a letter to be sent 5 years because she knows she was dying. Was just delivered a week ago. I immediately went to the post office, or because it's the post office, it was delivered late. I immediately went to the post office and gathered information to my help us solve the mystery surrounding the letter. Unfortunately, no information was helpful to us. Nah, it's your grandma. During our lunch break, me and my classmates held a meeting, decided to go to my professor's loft to examine the said apparition. That night, Professor welcomed me, Helen, a clairvoyant classmate, James, a religion freak, Selena, a Harry Potter fanatic, and my girlfriend Annie. What the heck? Such a random group of people. As we walked inside, a gust of wind blew. We gathered in the living room and saw paranormal stories, and around 8 p.m., the lights blinked. We sat still, frozen from fear. A loud thud was heard, and we saw our professor on the floor, unconscious. Then an unmistakable squeaking was heard inside the house. When turned around, we saw a figure of a person on a wheelchair. Streaks of blood poured. Oh, your grandma's here again. Streaks of blood poured from the chair to the floor. James quickly grabbed his holy water and doused the figure with it. Also recited some prayers. The figure disappeared. We tried to revive our professor, fearing that the creature would show up again. About after a minute, the professor gained consciousness, and when he asked us what happened, we decided not to scare him at all with the story of the creature's reappearance. The next week, we again went to the Professor John's loft. This time, we brought candles and religious items to defend ourselves against the entity that might show up. We even had smelling salts to revive our professor should he pass out again. Little past 8, the lights went crazy again when the creature reappeared. Oh, your grandma keeps visiting. We asked our professor to hold on to the wheelchair. Even his knees was shaking trying to hold the wheelchair. And was calling out his wife's name. Oh my lord, you can't stop that. Entity said to let. Oh, yeah, I told you it was his wife. She was too tired and bitter. As she grew more depressed, the creature would just keep on getting frightening. Tears poured from his eyes, and he hugged the bloody figure, caressed its hair. He tenderly whispered to the creature his undying love, and finally kissed it goodbye. Light suddenly came down. The figure bathed in light, transformed to Professor's wife's image. This is sounding more and more fiction. And then everybody clapped. My professor excused himself, went inside the room. We fixed the loft and left. Next day, Professor John went inside the class. He was clean shaven. His clothes were pressed again. He was his old self again. To prove he was real okay, he shouted at us, "I'm back, and I will make your semester as hellish as I can." He became the terror teacher again. What the heck? All right. Let me refill my water, then we will continue. The next story is called Of Mermaids, Ghosts, and White Ladies. Ooh. Let us see, let us see. Let me just get some water. One moment. I am back. You're cleaning your paintbrush and it looks like paint came off like gum. What the? Is that really old paint? Why did it come off like gum? Alright, you're ready for the next story. I'm just making sure I'm not muted again. I hated that we started one story muted. Alright, let us start. Again, the story is called Of Mermaids, Ghosts, and White Ladies. A friend in. Are all these stories written by Sharon? I was muted. Where did. What part did I stop? Alright, let's go with the. I could not sleep that night. I got out of my room and strolled a part of the beach since it was pitch black. Just circled the sandy side near the rest house. Then Hazel, the owner of the house, joined me in my stroll. Her familiarity of the place gave me the courage to go further than the beach carrying an electric lamp. Then, a white figure darted in the middle of the beach. It held Hazel on the elbows and asked my friend for help, said someone was after her. After that, she went straight to the water and disappeared. Fearing that she might have drowned, Hazel and I ran back to the house and called the police. Both ran back to the place where we last saw her, and I was carrying the lamp and was hoping to spot her despite the dark night. She might be swimming for her life, but the sea was calm, there was no one in sight. The police arrived. We described the woman. After hearing her detailed description of the woman, the investigator accused us of tricking them. We were puzzled by his reaction. The old caretaker explained to the authorities that we were not from the place and that we were just vacationing. He urged us to go home, explaining to us that what we saw was the ghost of a woman who was allegedly being chased by Japanese soldiers during the Japanese occupation. Counting on her skill with swimming, she ran to the sea and swam. She was never seen again. Stories have it that she was taken away by mermaids. What? It's some mixture of ghost and mermaid. Well, that was the title. Residents of the place claim that every year, a life is being claimed by the sea. They say that the mermaids were behind all of the drowning incidents in the place, since most of those who have drowned were women. The mermaids must have been after the victims' boyfriends or husbands. Warning us not to swim in that area, caretaker claimed that every summer, mermaids claim the life to feed their community. Of course, none of us believed this. I knew that was a haunting in place and no explanation for it yet. Morning came, all of us were excited to swim at the beach with its white sand and pristine blue waters. We asked a banca owner to tour us around the island. They knew I was one of the paranormal investigators. When we arrived at the beach, I was greeted by a woman in her 20s claiming that her house was haunted. She was vacationing. Why are you taking her to paranormal spots? I left the group and proceeded to her house, which was in front of her, where the woman who was being chased by Japanese soldiers ran to before disappearing into the sea. She said that her son kept on seeing people peering through the windows, sometimes tapping the panes to see if anyone is awake. This bothered his parents so much. That is annoying. Banging on the window pane. And that would be scary if you suddenly checked. However, they could not leave the place due to lack of good income. Waited until twilight to do the quest. I roamed the place and did not see anything. Then the text came in and saying that the tappings had started. My windows have blinds. Still, you're gonna see if somebody's tapping. I went back to the house, waiting for the paint to dry. I went back to the house and listened intently. I counted the taps and their intervals. There was a regular sound of tapping immediately, following by the blow of the wind. I went all out and went back of the house and saw a tree banging on the walls, creating the oh, it was just a tree. They thought it was a ghost. As I got back to the house, I saw a figure. Oh, there was a figure. It was not just a tree. There's bushes in front of your windows, so no tappies. I went back to the house, saw a tree banging the walls, creating tapping house. As I got back to the house, I saw a figure at the corner of the room. Owner of the house were frightened and temperature dropped. It was so cold then. I turned back and saw a figure. It was a man in a worn out gray suit. His hair was a mess. His mid 30s. The man's hands were tightly tied with a rope.
Okay, I found this on the web for What's a Mess 30s Man. Check it out.
Siri, stop listening to me.
I can't help with that,
No.
but you can change it in settings.
No. The heck, Siri? I'm reading a story, Siri. I got surprised by that. Siri suddenly talked about a 30-year-old man. Alright. His hair was a mess. In his mid 30s, the man's hands were tightly tied with a rope, which was cutting blood flow to his hands. I described the apparition to the owners. Is Siri warning us? The female owner said that the scene was very similar to what happened to her first husband. He was working overseas but was jailed. He was accused of robbing a convenience store in the Middle East. He was tortured and beaten to death. Said that his last letter to them before his imprisonment said that he could always be there by their side. That whatever may happen, he would come. Oh, there you go. He came home, but as a ghost. I advised them to initiate communication with the dead husband spirit and assured them they would be fine. Hello, Royce. How are you? Hot dog. Yeah, hot dog. I advised to initiate communication with the dead husband spirit, assured them they would fine. I went back to the rest house to get some rest after I was done with the family's case. At past midnight, I took the lamp and walked across the beach. I left behind my friends who were swapping stories near a bonfire. There, I saw the woman again. This time, I went after her. I started across the water. My toes felt a sudden drop on the sea floor. I saw her hand and tried to grab it, but my hand just went through hers. Yeah, Royce is playing Yakuza, beating up people. It's right there, and then I knew there was no mermaid. There's only that treacherous trench. That was what claimed her life. I went back to my friends. Everyone got curious, staring at my wet clothes. I told them that I followed the ghost. The next day, I asked caretaker to accompany to the family of the woman who drowned. Said that only the sister was alive, but she was barely speaking. In the hut, there was small to fit a single room. I saw an old woman with long hair that almost touched the ground. Her back was hunched and she was very thin. Since she was unable to speak, her great granddaughter came to the hut and spoke to us. They still believed that mermaids took their great grand aunt. Every day she would show up in the hut, reliving the pain of the chase and her death. I explained the incident to her, that there was no mermaids, only the hunting of soul of her grand aunt. This Hazel dad was vice governor of the region. He asked the family to conduct communication science to ease the fear of the people to beach and attract tourists. That night, they called the local albulario to communicate with the dead. Could not infer since their trust would always be with the local albulario. Conducted the seances and they allegedly communicated with the dead. It was to no avail. Then I realized she was warning everyone to stay out of the area due to the sudden drop in the seafloor. So far, only tourists have become victims of drowning at that part of the beach. Hazel decided to put a sign to warn people about the dangerous area. Now, due to the news of hauntings, many people flock to the place, not only for its pristine waters, but also for Lilia the ghost. Oh, that was a kind ghost. telling people not to go there because there is sudden drop from the beach. Yeah, I saw Rice playing the original Resident Evil. It was fun. Zombies. Next is Sleepless Night. Ooh, this is just a bit short, but it would be fun. Sleepless nights, just like my all my nights. Thank you for the headpats for Kuma. Let me drink some water. Ah, ah. Old man yawn. Old man stretches. Hello, Reggie. You got your pants grab. I got my pants grab, but it's hot dog. As an insomniac, I can confirm this as oh yeah, this is also all my nights. This one is just a little bit of a short story. I was 9 years old when I started seeing unusual things. When I moved into our new house, I knew something wasn't right. The walls felt damp and my bedroom was dusty no matter how many times I cleaned it. I thought nothing of it at first, just thinking it would take some getting used to. I had the smallest room in the house for a bedroom. I like it as it made myself feel at home by adding my favorite pictures on the wall. Alright, thank you for dropping by. Have fun at work. I tried to sleep well at night, but a distraction of dogs barking echoed through my ears. I look out the window to see a dog staring right at me from the far side. The dog was staring at them from the far side of the garden. I wasn't able to sleep that night, not even a wink. The next day at breakfast, my mom asked me how I slept. I told her I couldn't sleep at all due to the noise made by the dog. Mom smiled and assured me that I will get used to the new house in time. I still couldn't sleep, not for nights. I sometimes had to sleep during school hours so I was getting enough sleep for our house to function. Actually, I had to admit I like that my current room doesn't have a window outside because I am terrified of looking at the window outside at night. I remember at our old house, I'm very scared that something's gonna open the window and pull me out when I was sleeping. Sometimes I would just cover it. I didn't have curtains, so I cannot cover it. I just pray that nothing would be doing that. That's my fear. Something pulling me out, or somebody staring at me while I slept. Even though our house was at the second floor, it and there's a terrace there. I'm still scared that somebody's gonna peek. What does it remind you of, Matty? Where was I? Sleep. When you were younger, you had nightmares that like mechanical claws came out of the wall. Plug in thingies to like drag me under the bed and kill me. Oh, that is scary. Recently, the scariest dream that I have, well, I think it's sleep paralysis. I woke up and yeah, had sleep paralysis. There was no entity, but I just wanted to scream, but I couldn't, and I forced myself to wake up. It's so terrifying. Yeah, even if you're an adult, if something pulled you out and dragged you under the bed, it would be scary. Well, you sleep paralysis. I had nightmare about it the other night. Yeah, sometimes I do. I'm scared when that happens. But sometimes after sleep paralysis, when I get free, I get those lucid dreams where I can control it once I get free. So it's a trade off. But yeah, it's scary when you have sleep paralysis. I don't like it. All right, let's continue. Where am I? Oh, here. I still couldn't sleep. Not for nights. Sometimes I had to sleep during school hours because I wasn't getting enough sleep in our house. My teachers were shocked by my lack of effort in school and called my parents up. My mom said I must get sleep. Said that my bed was giving me discomfort. She insisted I sleep in her bed that night. I slept like a baby. Ooh, is there something in the room? You're gonna eat now. All right, afternoon. Go to sleep. Take care of the ghost over there. Hope they don't get you. Just joking. Sleep well, rest well. Thank you for dropping by. A week later, I went back to my own bed, feeling happy about sleeping in my own room again. As my head hit my pillow, my window suddenly opened and a cold draft hit me. It felt like somebody was watching me, like I had company. I eventually slept after I closed my window. When I woke up, I was astonished. My pictures were scattered all over my floor. My chair was broken into three pieces with two missing legs. What the heck did the ghost do? Why did it break the chair? I ran to the bathroom and washed my face, hoping it was all a dream. I leaned closely towards the mirror and I saw blood coming from my ear. When I moved slightly back, I looked like a normally as I did. After I told mom my whole experience, she was as shocked as I was, told teachers why I hadn't been able to concentrate in school. My mom asked someone who lived nearby who used to live in the house before us. Lady explained the troubled teenager took her life in my room. She felt somebody was watching her. I'm just now thankful I didn't choose a decision that couldn't be undone. I wish I could have told the teen to just give it time and everything would be fine. Oh, yeah, so yeah. If you feel down, talk to someone. Always someone there to listen. Even if you don't think that there would somebody that somebody would listen, there is somebody who will listen and would care. You are not alone. All right. Next one is called stamps. Who collected stamps? I have a collection. My collection currently is a whole set of different Gudetama figures and also some Nendoroids that is filling up the space in our house. What do you guys collect? Collecting Nendoroids is so expensive. Why did I start that hobby? I don't know. Pin stick. Ooh, actually, me too. I collect the metal pins. It started because of the BlizzCon pins, but yeah, it started to grow. But I recently stopped buying new ones because my my pin frame is already full. And also, I love stuffed animals. I have that giant Monster Hunter rice dog, the life size one, on my bed, and I sleep with it as my buddy. It's so soft. But yeah, I love stuffed animals as well. Imagine a grown up collecting stuffed animals. You have a big and mini blah. What's a blahaj? I wanna see. Oh, it's a shark from IKEA. It's a shark. And also, Charmy is getting taken over. Charmy's bed is being taken over by plushies. Big one is the size of my torso. Use it as a body pillow. Yeah, I want a a new body pillow. Well, if we reach 1,000, I'm gonna commission a Dakimakura and I might buy one, buy a body pillow with my own, with my own model. Speaking of which, we are already at 900, I think. I was surprised when I checked because we reached 900. Yeah, we're at 904. That was surprising. But yeah, we're so close to the Dakimakura goal. Torso plus head, it's huge. Yeah, I like having a body pillow when sleeping. I can actually I find it hard to sleep without many pillow. I usually use around 4 pillows just to make myself comfortable. That's why I have trouble sleeping in other houses because they only give me one pillow. Usually my minimum is two. I need one pillow for my body to hug and also for my head. Not you knocking on your foot. But yeah, how about you guys? Do you sleep with many pillows as well? It sounds like someone's knocking on the door. You're scaring yourself with your own knocking. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on and go back to the story. I keep getting distracted. Okay, the title of this one, you're not joking, it's actually. Well, yeah, if you're not, you're not sure where the sound came from, it's gonna be scary. All right, let's start. It's called stamps. My husband found some free Japanese stamps that I can get for my dad who collects stamps. So instead of paying for shipment, I decided to pick it up in Bacoor, Cavite, early June 2000. Yes, I have. You can type in exclamation mark the Discord to get the link. During my travel to an agreed place of exchange, I fell asleep in the bus. I dreamed that after my purchase, an old mestizo man grabbed a stamp from my hand, yelling, "These are mine!" Then I woke up when the conductor called us the next stop. So as getting off the bus, a passenger jeepney came out of nowhere, almost missed me by mere inches. I was shocked. I was almost killed. As approached the seal gate of the house where I was supposed to get the stamps, a cat scratched my foot. There's a lot of red flags already, and you're still gonna buy it? I realized it was not a good day for me. When the man handed me his stamps, a strong energy flowed from my hands to my head. Suddenly, I was enveloped with a strong current of energy suffocating me. The seller was unaware of what was happening. I tried to smile and immediately excused myself. As I left the man, I could still feel the energy surging inside me. Took the stamp out of their case, and as soon as my hand was in contact with the stamps, the energy struck me like a bolt of lightning. Energy seems to have gathered around my neck. It was too much for me and fell on my knees, gasping for air. My dad wants your stamps, and I'm sure he will take care of your legacy, I said, holding the stamp close to my face. The energy subsided. As I got up on my feet, I saw the sky was suddenly dark. It's about to rain. I put the stamps back to their case. I got home, I showed my dad the stamps. Same energy came out again, but this time it wasn't as strong as before. My curiosity grew. I knew that there was something in those stamps that I needed to discover. A secret that I needed to find. In one of the envelopes, the name was inscribed. The recipient was Mr. James Lipton, Philadelphia, USA. This was postmarked November 1944. Ooh, it's a very old collection. Inside was a small note, as big as a one-fourth sheet of paper, all yellowed up and brittle. The request you ask is approved, CVK, but there was no return address. Asked my dad about the envelope that was postmarked here in the Manila was supposed to be going to the States. I asked him there was existing records of name of people who have served in the Philippines. He said the research online site of the US Army. After a couple of searches, I found the name Jamie L. Preston, one of the daughters of Mr. Lipton, listed as still alive. You Joyce, welcome to the Discord server. It's a bit empty right now because I'm too lazy to actually set it up. But yeah, thank you for joining. Hopefully, we can get enough people to actually keep the Discord alive and not just an empty thing. I spoke to her through the phone. She informed me that the request mentioned in the note was for a mortgage payment requested by her mother, who was at the time pregnant with her. Letter did not reach them. Apparently, her father died when he was assigned in an area south of the Pacific a month later. Her mother thought that the loan was denied. I offered her the stamps, but she was not interested anymore. Promised to take care of them. It was unusual for the stamps to still discharge energies, looking for possible reasons. I asked my head paranormalist, Alex, about it. He said that I was looking at the wrong direction. One of the previous owners of the stamps may have left an imprint to prevent another person from purchasing the set. If anyone purchases the stamps, they might give out negative energies and cause the buyer to become sick. I asked the seller of the stamps to give me the names of the people who previously owned them. He refused. I only had one way of finding out, through the stamps. I placed the stamps under my pillow for a week. One night, someone grabbed my hand, shook it violently. I got and realized I was alone. The next night, I dreamed I was in a place filled with books, periodicals, and photographs. I was in a library of some sort. Windows were stained. The place was made up of old things, wooden floors and antique cabinets. Outside was a familiar sight. I was on the same place where I was. Where is it? Where am I? Oh, where I pick up the studs. I saw someone at the bottom of the stairs. As I approached the figure, I saw it was an old man, a Chinese mestizo with a cane in his left hand. He was clad in a white sando and a buntal hat. Spectacles were round, were placed near the tip of his nose. His hair was well groomed and he had hazel eyes. Folding a piece of paper, I saw the fire was starting. He was mad seeing that his possessions were being gutted by the fire. Then a fire broke behind me. I panicked, telling him that I was not the one burning his things. He handed me the paper he was folding. Quickly went outside and watched the house burn to the ground. I concluded the man did not make it. Opened the piece of paper. Tell my son not to burn my things. I woke up from my dream. I grabbed the phone and called his son, the one who sold me the stamps. I relayed to him my dream as expected, did not believe a word I said. As for another sign from the old man, he manifested his message through another dream. This time I saw the same old stuffy library. I saw him reading some books. He showed me a book. On its cover, it said Songs of May. He smiled and threw me out of the house. It was burning again. I again informed the son about the dream. This time, feeling annoyed, finally asked me to go over his house and see him. I arrived at the house. I saw the old man in the corner of the living room, with his hands behind his back, walking slowly. His son took a small photograph of his wallet. He asked me to describe his father. After I did, he slowly extended his hand and showed me the photo. I nodded. It was his father's picture. Tears rolled down his old wrinkled cheeks. He explained that the money was important because family business which his dad started was already starting to lose money. Issued checks bounced, workers were unpaid, supplies were running low. Most of the properties had been sold. Still, there was not enough money to cover everything they owned. So he sold his father's collection. It broke his heart every time a piece was sold, but he told me that he meticulously chose every buyer. Advised him permission to ask permission from his father for each item he sold. He should tell his dad where the money would go. After conversation, there was a sudden calmness in the air. Feeling of sadness suddenly lifted. I left him with his dad's presence lingering around the house. Seeing the old man's hand on his son's shoulders, I knew that they would be fine. I went home and held the stamps again. This time, there was no energy left. I knew what my dad truly owned the stamps then. They were keeping an old antique stamp book. They will surely keep for another generation. If you had the power like this person to understand those energies and see entities, what would you do? I don't think I want to do it. I'll force my third eye to be closed. I don't want. I'm too scared. She's helping a bit, but yeah, I don't think I can live that life. I don't know what I would do. You'd probably be super friendly to the entities. Well, it would be best to be friendly to entities because they might fight back if you aren't. All right, here's another one. Scary Places is the title. Again, it's Sharon's story. Dead Drop. My father was a legal counsel of a well known bus company. During his time with the company, there was a large number of passengers riding the bus from Manila to Lucena or Magnog in Samar. He had heard strange stories from commuters, especially when Holy Week's nearing. In the summer of 1996, several college students from Manila decided to spend a week in the province. They were done with their thesis and their graduation was a few days away. As a last hurrah, they decided to embark on a road trip to Legazpi Albay. They boarded a bus with a body number 803 in the afternoon. That day, the drivers Feliciano and Henry were preparing for the bus for the long trip to Samar. Conductor was counting the passengers boarding and securing their packages. He was annoyed when the group of students changed seats, trying to keep away from the sun. Finally, after an hour, the bunch edged its way out of the terminal. Almost dark when they reached the first stopover in Lucena. Students ran to the comfort room to relieve themselves. I know a scary place, your grandma's house. The grandma that visited the professor. But yeah, seriously, what happened in your grandma's house? A bus pulled in beside Feliciano's bus. The driver said that the road to Legazpi is very slippery. The rain had not stopped pouring, making their trip very hard. Warned Feliciano to take extra precaution. The conductor then called the passengers to board. The students crammed up the door. They took their seat, laughing at their silliness. After a few hours, Henry woke up. It was almost same time to take over the wheel. He noticed the rearview mirror. He noticed in the rearview mirror one male passenger missing ahead. Thought it was just dirt in the mirror or his house were playing a trick on him. He asked the conductor to clean the mirror and also for water for his face. You just spied. Ooh, spiders. Where do you live? You're not from Australia, aren't you? I know that they have dinner plate spiders there. Oh, that is indeed scary for a relative to be like that. I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, you're in America. Yeah, people who are alive are scarier than ghosts most of the time, especially if they are like that. What kind of spiders are in your area? Do you have those? What are those spiders? The red. Oh, it's a black widow, right? The one with the red hourglass. Lots of deadly spiders. For reference, your hands were 9 inches long with your fingers included. Spider was size of your palm. That's the one the biggest spider. I'm very happy that we don't have those types of spiders here in the Philippines. Well, hopefully not, but we do have those large bats that people thought that are monsters because they are giant bats. They are bigger than people. Some people think that they are as ones, but they are just megafauna. It will be scary when you see them. All right, where are we? Oh, here. After wiping his face with a wet cloth, look at the mirror. Again, still saw the male passenger's reflection was headless. Bus drivers are generally superstitious. Henry believed that when a passenger appeared to be headless, a danger was looming. Immediately asked Feliciano to stop the bus. Approached the passenger and ordered him to change his shirt. You like bats? They look cool. From far away, sure. But not close up. I do like Batman. The student said he did not believe the urban legends or superstitions. He was laughing at the drivers. Drivers argued with him, but the student threatened them he would report the incident to the management to see to it that they would lose their jobs. Realizing the gravity of the threat, the drivers decided to push through with the trip. Suddenly, rain poured down, making the roads very slippery. Henry decided to slow down and drive more cautiously. They reached the zigzag of the Quezon province. The rain suddenly stopped. The road was very slippery. Car going to Manila suddenly emerged in front of the bus. Henry tried desperately to avoid hitting the car. That's when the bus fell into a deep ravine. The freak accident killed 57 passengers. Only 4 survived. Years later, an aunt visited my parents to attend town fiesta and decided to ask my uncle Ramon to go with them. He was very strong-eyed and he would often deny it. His fear of the unknown was so great he kind of regarded his gift as a curse. They passed the zigzag road where the accident happened years back. Suddenly curled up like a baby in the back seat. He asked my mother who was driving to speed up. Mom said he was couldn't because numerous blind curves in the road made the drive dangerous. After an hour, they approached Naga. Morning, my parents asked my uncle, scared of him, zigzag road. Ho told them that the people lining up zigzag railings, crying and begging him to give them a ride. And there he also saw the ill-fated bus number 803. Ah, he saw a lot of ghosts. It's scary if they want to ride. And how did they get that story though? If almost all died, did they get it from the 4 people? Did they tell it to them? But it is scary. I only experienced that zigzag road. Well, yeah, it was when we went to Albay to go see the Mayon volcano. It was very nice. Good thing I don't have my third eye, or I would have seen those ghosts. All right, next story, still under the scary places. It's called One Extra Passenger. It was already 1:30 a.m. when I went home after a day's work. It was first job as sales manager in a company in Mandaluyong. We had inventory problems, so I extended my work hours. I boarded a somewhat dilapidated bus just to reach home. There were only a handful of passengers at that time, so I could easily see a passenger where they were seated. Suddenly, a woman got up for a seat. Her translucent body floated on the aisle. She was in the mid 20s, dressed in overflowing brown dress. Her hair was gathered in a ponytail, and she was clutching a handbag. The driver immediately slammed on his brakes when she shouted to the conductor, "We have an extra passenger. Maybe she might take along somebody." The ghost left the bus. Everyone was wondering who the driver was referring to. Immediately, I occupied the seat behind the driver and said, "I saw the lady." "Who was that?" He explained that there was a woman who got off a bus near Ayala Avenue. She was hit by a drunken driver. Her body was tossed 4 feet away because of the impact. He was instantly killed by the accident. So every night, at past 1 o'clock, this woman get a ride at Bonnie Avenue. What the heck? The lady still rides the bus even if she was dead. Next story. Paliko or Paliko. There was a place in the south called Paliko or Paliko. The reason they called it the way was because the nature of the road. A downhill highway ending in a bridge and a 90-degree curve. Every driver who passes through the road knows that his brakes should be working really well unless he wants to end his life sooner. Making conditions worse, there's no really early warning device or signs that would caution motorists about the blind curve ahead. The bridge covers a ravine. Drivers said that they practiced great caution when they reached this part of the road. Many did die there. A cargo jeep, a minibus carrying several students after a Tagay tour, and numerous cars and motorbikes. A story circulated that a white lady was living in a bridge who distracted motorists until they would lose control of the wheel and plunge into the ravine. This was proven untrue. Instead, the screams of people who died there can still be heard until today. As a precaution, driver there honked 3 times to tell whoever guards the bridge to stay off the road. Next story. It's inside an Ortigas. Ooh, what mall in Ortigas is this? One moment, let me drink some water. All right. Inside an Ortigas mall. I was asked to participate in an event in a big mall in Ortigas. Our call time was 7:30 in the morning for briefing and costume rehearsals. There was a chapel on the fifth level. I frequently go to the chapel due to its solemn and air-conditioned prayer rooms. Knowing that it might be closed, I decided to go up anyway and just pray outside the chapel. Seeing several people on that floor, I thought that there was a morning worship on that Saturday. Management allowed other religions to use their function hall, so there might be a service that day. Approaching the chapel, I saw teenagers walking in groups with arms around each other's shoulders. Others were seated on the floor. The place was not lit. Only the light from the sunproof partially illuminated parts of the chapel. After my prayers in front of the chapel, I went back to the area, told the media crew that there were a lot of people upstairs. Producer of the event panicked as there might be a conflict on scheduled event. She quickly assigned the management about the people on the fifth floor. Angrily, she went back and confronted me, saying that there was not one person upstairs. The mall did not allow people in. Worship was every Sunday 9 a.m. and not earlier than that. One sound crew heard our discussion. He went go up to chapel for his morning prayers when he also saw the people walking along the hallway. The producers brought us to the management, told their story. His face turned pale. Said that there had been complaints and reports about people on the fifth floor. Some of the owners of the restaurants located on the floor also informed them such incidents. They also said that people often disrupted their tables. Some employees also reported the comfort rooms on this floor were haunted. Toilets would be heard flushing and the doors would be locked. No one would be there. From then on, our call time was adjusted to 9 a.m., close to the mall's opening hours. Oh, I wonder what mall this is. Which mall in Ortigas has a chapel on the fifth floor? Is it Robinson's? Robinson's already has its own horror stories. Is Mega Mall 5 stories? I think it's only 3, right? What mall is this? It probably Robinson's Gallery. So many scary stories inside the mall. All right, and let's see. This one is a short story. It's called Abandoned Hospital. A couple of years ago, when I was in high school, it was popular thing to break into closed down insane asylum on the weekend. Really? Popular to break into abandoned places? You kids are crazy. I live in a town where there were three old hospitals of that nature right nearby. Oldest one was, of course, the most popular due to the fact that the old tunnels where they used to take dead bodies in and out there was easy to get into, and the cops couldn't see you sneaking into the place. One weekend, a group of my friends, three girls and three guys, including me, decided to explore the hospital. We parked our cars and started towards the tunnels at around 1 o'clock in the morning. We had three flashlights, so we decided that we would pair up. One girl and one guy to make things even scarier. This was also a precaution because most of us were more worried about getting caught by the cops than seeing anything paranormal. The tunnels were musty and wet. Ooh, musty. Sounds moist. But other than the only thing scary was the fact that even with the flashlights, we couldn't see more than 30 feet in front of us. We made it through the tunnels and went upstairs on the first floor. We decided to locate the lobby so that we would all know where the good meeting place was. From there, we split into groups, but the other couple headed the same way as my friend and I took. Walked in the hospital and found the solitary rooms where they kept uncontrollable patients. Hello, Quacky! Hot dog! Yeah. We are just reading some spooky stories. I was a little scared by then, but the other guys kept hiding and scaring us, so I was mostly annoyed. You just got home from a hospital? Ah, just your great timing. I'm reading a story about an abandoned hospital. Hopefully you're all right. How was your hospital trip? Hope hope that it wasn't that tiring. Moments later, we saw police lights outside. They must have spotted our cars or the flashlights. None of us wanted to get trespassing tickets, so the other guys turned the flashlights off and we split up because no one wanted to make noise or get caught. Whole time though, I was still near my partner, ducked onto one of the rooms in the hallway. Soon as I entered the room, I could sense others were there with me. This put me at ease. Quickly, whispered quietly to them, but there was no response. Then I could hear two people whispering. I couldn't make out what they were saying. I continued to wait in the dark until the coast was clear. As soon as I thought the cops were gone, I ran out the first exit I saw. I made my way back where the cars were. I was convinced I was the first to leave the hospital. When I reached my car, I saw that everyone was there waiting for me. Everyone had made it back to cars right away. I was the last one out of the building. This meant that no one would have been in the room with me. The presence I felt was something else. What the heck? It's okay. Your excitement is going good so far. All right. Bao just all grown up. Your dog's puppy. Ooh, that's nice. There's gonna be cute puppies. All right. Let's see. Let's see. We have more stories. All right, here. Your dog look. Ooh, I wanna see it. If you're in the Discord, you can post it in the pets channel. Drink some water. You guys too. Don't forget to drink some water. All right, let us begin the new story. Where should I put my cosplay stuff? Oh, you can put it in Discord as well. Maybe in pics and vids, you can put it there. I just realized I don't have a pet channel. It will be in pics and vids as well if you want to share. Oh, you can go to the Discord by going to the invite link if you want. Bed. No, I meant pet channel, not bed channel. All right. This next story is called Grudge. All right. Wait, is this not a real story? Why is it based on The Grudge? Mr. Romualdez looked up, his bleary eyes making out the image of the young doctor in front of him. He realized he had fallen asleep and he blinked to the clear vestiges of sleep that remained. Mr. Romualdez, sir? Yes, that's me. What's wrong with your wife's asleep now, sir? He pointed down the hallway and began to walk, but there are some things we'd like to tell you first before you meet her. Your eyes have having flashes right now. Why? What happened? Mr. Waldes walked with the doctor how he thought had all this happened. He was young, back then, well off, and free to do what he wanted. He had dashing looks and made girls sigh, a shiny car that made men envious, and an attitude that made other people remember him, for better or for worse. But nothing satisfied him. Whether it was a party or a drink or even a girl, life had long ceased to have any charm for him. In short, he had suffered the sickness of rich and young. He was bored. It was a good thing that your wife was rushed here as soon as possible, sir, the doctor said, his words filling the void that seemed to comfort him. She hadn't arrived when she did. There would have been. Noticed that doctor walked past the rooms into an elevator. Wordlessly, he followed his mind on the past. Ooh, I want to see that. Your cosplay. Ooh. You're painting them right now. It's gonna be cool when it's finished. That summer night, he went into yet another boring party with his boring friends and boring girls when he saw her. The two little red rectangles are ooh, nice. I want to see once it's finished how it and mechanism to move them. Ooh, nice. You even have your own mechanism for the mouth. She was perfect in every way. The dark hair cascaded down her head to the brown sultry eyes that held the breath of every male in the room. The slender, sexy tanned legs that peeked from an indecently backless dress. She sauntered over the side and drinks in her hands. She gazed at him with her smoky eyes. Hi, I'm Katrina. He was smitten beyond words, hopefully lost in the passion of desire. They left the party soon after. They would be seen in each other's company for a long, long while. But then something happened. Even now, he couldn't explain why it had happened. He realized one day he was woke up and he was wasting his life. That he didn't stop, he would eventually destroy himself with little sense at all. Maybe it was the stale scent of alcohol on his lips or the haze that invaded his thoughts. When he slumped over the sink, and he knew, and he had to do something about it. What do you mean by this? If the devil himself had appeared before him, couldn't have been worse. Ending a relationship now? He had to be strong. He had to break his vices and put. Why is this story written like this? He had to break his vices and put an end to self-destruction, or else they would kill him. And she was vice, perhaps the worst vice of all. You'll regret this. He said nothing to her as she walked away, the door slamming behind her, nothing to the brief pain in his heart. It's a lot like a dino fursuit. Ooh. Can't wait to see it in action. You must understand, your wife's case is unique. The doctor put his hand on the doorknob. He looked at Mr. Wallace with a serious look in his eyes. You must promise me one thing. Whatever you see here, you do not tell anyone else, not even your wife. Are we clear? It was several years after breakup, his hard years of partying, he had enjoyed his ways covered the simple spiritual joys in life. Both in his church. Why is this story written like this? It's going flashbacks. you look, you looking at me. I'm a hot dog. It was then he met Maria. She was the opposite to every girl he had gone out. She worked hard, prayed sincerely to God, and led a simple, unfettered life. Though he didn't quite know what drew him to her, he knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. To his joy, she shared the same feeling with her. They were married several months soon after their first meeting. Remember that just yesterday she wanted to take a walk Was worried for she was pregnant with her first child, her belly warm and round. I'll be okay. It's just around the house. He looked deeply in his eyes, her emphasized every word. I'll be okay. Hadn't allowed her to take that work, to take that walk, would things have been different? Ah, his wife got into an accident while walking. Your wife's womb suffered massive internal bleeding, largely because of the embedded flesh and bone splinters of what had happened. Look at the doctor and question his eyes. It wasn't just a normal stomach ache. She was crying when he arrived home from work, saying something about a woman had come out of nowhere, laughing like a hag. She had dead brown eyes. Woman who looked like Katrina, but one that was twisted with hate. A woman had touched his belly's wife, grinning evilly at her before disappearing. That night, the stomach aches began. We managed to save your wife. Her condition right now is stable, but the mental and physical trauma of the situation may hinder our attempts to have children in the future. Doctor moved to a metal table, a blanket covering something. He swallowed her before grasping the sheet. This is the first time we've seen anything like this, and I pray to God this is the only time I ever see a baby die like this. With that, he removed the sheet. Mr. Romualdez was forced to gaze at the broken, crushed thing at the. Oh! It's a human baby boy, but all recognizable parts were the tiny hands and feet that were ripped off the body. The rest of the what is in his son was a mass of bloody, congealed flesh had been mashed like a piece of dough. Liquid steel leaking out the shattered corpse as the bone cartilage gleamed wetly in the harsh light. Somehow he could hear Katrina's laugh in the background. What the heck is Katrina, a witch or something? You sent a video of the weather, windy, that the house is shaking. Oh no, hopefully you'll be alright. Take care over there. Oh, that's the end of that story. What the heck? Why is it written like that? But yeah, it was Katrina. Is it a ghost that killed their child? The poor child. All right. Next story is called. It's always okay because last year it was like that as well. Oh, okay. Stay safe. Stay safe there, Quacky. All right. This is the next story. It is Lola Pura. Like most Manila residents, I am from the born and bred. I left my father's town some 15 years ago and never really looked back. Didn't leave because I had big city dreams or itchy traveler's feet. I liked my father's town. I grew up there. I left because of the aswang. I know what you're thinking. Aswang don't exist. Aswang are bad special effects in sneak out and roll movies. Maybe you're right. Maybe what happened to my cousin Jojo and I didn't involve an aswang. Maybe I was just scared away by my province's reputation. You decide. My father was one of the few mechanics in Cap. Oh, it's in Capiz. Yeah, that is that province has a reputation for having a lot of aswangs. Technically, he was a mechanic, but he was more of a handyman. He repaired engines, fixed wheels, all types of wheels, mended roofs, did emergency carpentry, and even fixed furniture. It wasn't much, but it kept food on the table. Gave me ultimate playground, the junkyard. The junkyard was outside town proper. 20-minute walk from the cemetery, from the entrance of the. Oh, a 20-minute walk from the town entrance after the cemetery. Junkyard was. And cemetery was separated by a modestly sized bridge. I hear that these days the bridge is a massive concrete monster that can support trucks and buses. That's the progress, I suppose. When I left, the bridge was a sorry tangle of wood and wire that could only be support one vehicle at the time, nothing heavier than a pickup truck. During summer, I spent entire days out in the yard with my father because the trip home was too long and too dangerous to take unaccompanied. Most of the time, Jojo and my cousin and best friend would come with me. He had six siblings. He wasn't always missed. At 5:15, as soon as the sun began to dip slightly, my father would hurriedly keep his tools and close shop. No later than 5:30 in the afternoon, he was rounding us up to go home. We always got to town just as night was falling. If we had left a little late, would quicken his pace and admonish us to hurry up so that we would be home by 6 o'clock sharp. I always thought it was because my mother was strict and when it came to dinner time, and my father did not want to keep her waiting. One time, when my mother was away visiting her aunt, I didn't want to go home early since we had no real reason to get home on time. But Mama's not home. Can't we stay and play at least another half an hour? No, June, we cannot. We have to get home before it gets dark. Tell Jojo we have go home now. Just a half hour more, please. June, I said no. It will be dark by then. But Pa, they installed streetlights in the plaza. June, I said no. We're going home now. The way his voice dropped and his eyes crossed when he said now rattled me to my bones. Wasn't his usual anger face, it was more desperate, almost like he was afraid of something. Jojo suddenly appeared beside me. Apparently, he had overheard our discussion. My father had frightened him so much that he wanted to go home too. As we left the yard, my father looked at his watch and muttered under his breath, "We're late. It will be dark before we cross the bridge." Oh, is there a ghost near that bridge? I tried to remind him of the plaza's new street lamps, and he simply shot me the look. June, be quiet and hurry up. My father was practically running as we approached the cemetery. The sky had turned an odd shade of red and violet. What did I say? Odd shade. Odd shade of red and violet. There was almost no sunlight left as we passed the cemetery gates. My father did the sign of the cross 3 times, never taking his eyes off the road, never slowing his pace. Before I could hear Jojo breathing heavily, almost wheezing, June, hurry up. We had reached the bridge, and I swear that my father had broken into a sprint the moment he stepped on the first wooden plank. When he finally reached the other side, his shoulders slumped slightly and his breathing slowed. He had a look of relief at his face as reaching the main street was some great comfort to him. Pa, what's wrong? Nothing. Sorry, June, didn't mean to frighten you like that. One day when you're older, I'll explain it to you. Ooh, I wonder what's happening. Jotaro! Explain what? The stories. The stories about what happens if you don't cross the river before nightfall. You mean the Aswang stories? But Mama said that they aren't real. They just used to frighten us to go home before it gets dark. Mama said, I know what your mama said, but she wasn't born here. Doesn't understand. One day when you're older, I'll explain it to you. Now come on, we have to drop Jojo home. Was then I realized that I couldn't hear Jojo's heavy breathing behind me. When suddenly my father grabbed my arm, pointed to the bridge. Jojo was lying in the center, his body contorted in a strange. What the heck? He was struggling against a heavy weight. My father and I ran to pick him up, take him off the bridge. His skin was ice cold to the touch. Between the two of us, we tried lifting him, but he was as heavy as a carabao, which we couldn't believe because Jojo is a skinny, sickly kid. His body was tense, hard like stone, and he sounded like he was choking. As we struggled to lift him, I feel my arms getting cold and tightness in my chest. My father did his very best to hide the panic on his face, but it didn't work. I don't know how we got off the bridge into town, but we did. The next day, as it with most towns, everybody knew what happened. Jojo's parents insisted on taking him to the albulario while my mother tried to convince them that he needed proper medical attention. My father's ever the diplomats convinced them to do both. Doctor said Jojo had suffered an intense asthma attack, that's why he was convulsing and had trouble breathing. But he wouldn't get heavy by having an asthma attack alone. When I told him about the cold feeling in my arms and tightness in my chest, decided to examine as well, but found nothing wrong. As we left Doctor's clinic, we ran to Lola Pura, the town prophet. You know, the official town crazy person. She was practically an institution in town. Although no one really knew where she lived, she sat across the church with candles and she shelled to passerby. Sometimes she reads fortune for some spare change. No one knew how old she was. There were theories. My grandfather once told me that he bought candles from her, and when he had his first communion, she was already an old woman then. Oh, my dad likes to nitpick about everything now. I have to do this for getting paint on my bed. Oh, you were painting on your bed. Oh, no, hope the stains go away. Well, it's paint. Does it go away? Poor approached Jojo's parents and asked them about their son. She was greatly concerned about his health and offered them home remedies to help his breathing. As they talked, Jojo clutched my arm. His knuckles were bone white. All the blood had gone from his face, and he looked almost like a ghost. Jojo, what's wrong? June, this sounds crazy, but last night on the bridge, it was Pura. She attacked me. I didn't recognize her at first. Her face was so white and her eyes were bloodshot. She had this wild look on her face, and then she said she was going to eat me. That's why I couldn't breathe. She was choking me because she wanted to eat me. Lola Pura is an aswang. Literally said it's washable. He was like, you know better. Not my fault, it's less cluttered than my desk. Too lazy to clean it. Well, if washable, then it's good. Why did you get punished for something that can be cleaned? Jojo, you had an asthma attack. You were imagining things because you didn't have an oxygen. How dare? How dare? I have asthma and we don't hallucinate when we're having an asthma attack. What the heck? June, please believe me, it was her. I can feel her looking at me, trying to see if I remember her. It was then that Jojo started wheezing, was having another asthma attack. Rushing back to the clinic, and after calm down, Puro went away. We went to a Bulario. You were attacked by an aswang, he said clinically, like he'd seen it a million times before. But you're a teenager, you should know better. Whatever, totally mature. But yeah, let him be. Go watch the go watch the dishes so he's happy. he, ju- he just want to be the parent. You make jokes about your grandma, you wear Sonic boxers. That's not mature. My mother snorted in disbelief. It does not matter if you believe me, ma'am, or if you believe the stories. There's a reason why no one goes outside the town after dark. And Aswang lives under the bridge. Anyone who tries to cross at night is captured and eaten. If you do not care if you believe me, told my mother coldly. Then he turned to Jojo and his parents, handing a small glass tube filled with strange yellow oil. This is a pangontra. It should keep the aswang away from your child and your home. Whether you think this is just asthma or not, please keep this close by. Never know when it might be useful. So at the Abulari's home, we ran to Pura again. Or rather, we almost did. She approached us to greet us, then sharply turned away and walked off the opposite direction. This went on for several days until we finally stopped running into her. Practically forgot about the incident until 6 months later when my father died. He had been working later than usual on the contractor of an important haciendero. No one really know what time he crossed the bridge, but the groundskeeper of the cemetery found him the next morning on the bridge. Body was contorted in a strange position as if grasping for air. His face was fixed in a silent screen. Doc said it had been a heart attack, but I knew better. I knew the moment I left the first novena mass and saw Pura sitting on her stool selling candles, smiled at me and licked her lips and went back to counting her coins. A month later, convinced my mother to move us out of the barrio and her sister's house in the city. I swore I'd never go back to the town till I was sure that Lola Pura died. Spoke to Jojo yesterday. His asthma seems to be clearing up. Apparently, he got married the other week, a local girl. They set up a little corridor in front of the local school. And know what? He left the church to go to his wedding reception. He saw the bent old lady sitting on her stool, selling candles in front of the church. She did not smile at him, but he was pretty sure he saw her lick her lips when she looked at his wife. What the heck? You look like the green version of the entity from DBD, but hot dog. What does it look? Why does it look like a hot dog? All right, all right. Let us read this as I think the last story of the night. I don't want to read stories at 3 a.m. You're gonna go shower, all right, Quacky. It is called Mana. I'm in Iloilo. It's seemingly quiet, and bread and breakfast known as Chateau Poupie. I could go to describe the establishment, I suppose, prattle on about this rustic charm which barely conceals some stifling, suffocating evil. How the cosmetic beauty of the place is precisely that cosmetic, merely skin deep. like the makeup of a mortician would use on a corpse. I could, but I'd rather just tell you the story, get right into the meat of things, so to speak. Marion Mirabilis enters the room, takes the seat opposite from me. Marion owns Chateau Poppy and knows why I want to speak with her. It's because of the doll. Shadow Poppy. I don't know how to read it, but it's spelled as Poppy. Excuse me, Irene, the doll. Marion makes a face, then expels a deep breath before she begins. Irene Mart Hayut was an artist who lived in this house all her life. She was given a doll made by her uncle, a famous turn of the century European doll maker. She was 5. Was made of wood, had human hair, painted porcelain orbs for eyes, and looked exactly like Marth. Marth loved that doll. She dressed it in her own clothes, christened it with her first name, Irene. And thank you for the headphones for Kuma. Marion shudders as if she's cold, though the evenings is warm. The summer nears its apex. How did you come to know about this? Giselle Poopy. Yeah, the last name is Poopy. Who came to ownership of this house after Marth passed away? Marion grins and lopsided smirk. It's funny. What is? I was seated right there when Giselle told me all this, seated right where you are now. And Giselle was here in my place. I remembered I thought Giselle looked like Crone. Some with withered agent some withered ancient hag from fairy tale whispering old tales to me. Tell me, what do I look like? I don't know, I lie. I can see you all too well. The shadows, I left my voice low, making it evident I have nothing more to say on the matter. I can see, though, but what do I see? I'd rather much not the awful sheen, the stiffness. Giselle told me Martha had a hellish temper. All her life, she was difficult, abrasive, and confrontational. Back then, I suppose she might have been called a harridan, a harpy. Marion makes what I assume is supposed to be a rueful grin. Imagine these days, Mars would be called something else. A bitch. Anyway, Martha was always doing hateful, spiteful things, even when she was little. And when she was given that doll, well, it made only made things worse. Because now she could actually blame the doll, which she would. No one believed her, of course, but she never deviated from her story, which was that when Irene was alive and that it did all the bad things Martha was blamed for. To give Martha the benefit of the doubt, the incidences after Irene was given to her was more serious than the earlier ones. Whereas before, Martha's transgressions were just the old order of lies, quarrels with other children, the theft here and there. Those occurred after Irene came to her life were more worrisome. First, fires, the sudden inexplicable deaths of pets. What the heck? This is a killer, though? Once, and here, Marion stops. She shudders again. Once, the 3-year-old child of a neighbor disappeared. One minute he was playing in front of their yard, the next he was gone. No one ever saw him again. Martha would have been about 8 at this time. 8. Is Martha a serial killer and blames it on the doll? But what made Giselle think Martha had anything to do with disappearance? Because Martha was very old. She began to have arguments with Irene. People to hear her voice raised the shrill and grating voice, and once she was heard to have said, "You're impossible." Just like that you playing with that little boy. I wasn't enough. You needed another playmate. Were you happy with him? Did you enjoy his attention? Marion laughs in silence, and suddenly, all of a sudden, what did Giselle think of Martha? Of what really happened? Giselle was of two minds, as Martha very well might have been in I were to believe she was the cause of everything. If that were the case, then Irene was merely a convenient target for projection, or perhaps a receptacle for Marth's darker urges, a vehicle for them like a split personality. Irene became a physical shell into which Martha could pour all the vile turmoil in her mind, and perhaps after all those years, the doll became touched, tainted. It's like mana, meaning inheritance. In a way, this is also what's meant by the definition which bears importance to us. It's the idea that objects through exposure and prolonged contact can be imbued with emotions, with echoes of the past, usually things of silk and wood. This house, this house and certain things in it, has been corrupted by Irene, just as Irene was possibly infected by Marth. And Giselle's other theory? I ask needlessly since I already know, intimately, horribly, what it is. Well, that Irene was the source of the evil. That somehow the doll had within it a darkness. Darkness that corrupted an already troubled child, making Martha an accomplice to her sinister deeds. And Giselle still kept the doll when she bought the house. After Martha died, she had to. She felt she had no choice. Martha wrote the letter on her deathbed explaining everything. Giselle gave the letter to me and when I bought this house from her. The letter, I say, keep the sick eagerness out of my voice. Can I see it? Marion smiles and stiff hideous grins. I burned it. I keep my mouth shut, tight afraid what emerged should I open it. The letter said that whatever happens, Irene had to kept in the front bedroom. This was her room, and no one else was to use that room. And if these instructions were followed, what would happen? Something, and the grin is there again, gruesome, undesirable. So Giselle kept Irene that room, kept her there for years, never cleaned that room, never entered it, even when she would hear sounds from within, furniture being moved about, footsteps, giggling. When I opened the room to have it cleared out, cobwebs were everywhere, and the dust. So you opened up the room? Of course I did. I had to. I had to air it out. It was an extra room after all, and this is business. To look at it now, you'd never know how it had been such a state. You tell me I did a good job, yes? Clean, not a speck of dust or dirt left. Yes, the room is perfect. Thinking back on the comfortable front bedroom where my luggage and clothes are, and the room I've been staying the past 3 days. And Irene? I say my throat suddenly dry. Where is she? The doll? The horrid grin and wet shiny. Why, I burned it along with the letter and everything else in the room. We burned everything in the backyard. The smoke lingered for days, I swear. And the grin becomes horrendously wider. I was bringing that stink the whole time. It seeped into everything that was. And Marion meets my awful grin, her skin gleamingly dully like varnished wood, her eyes shining like porcelain. Later that evening, my third night there, sit on my bed, trying to feel the imprint of Irene left in this room, trying to understand myself like the story I just told by Marion. Reached stiffly for the bedside table, barely feeling the worn leather on my fingertips. I flip it open, staring at the picture there. One of the awful ID photos always make you look like a corpse, a mannequin. Then I stared at him on the card, my name. Stared at, trying to wrench understanding from collective letters, its to injunction syllables. Vincent Hewitt. I stared at my name, and the night lengthens. Slowly, inevitably, I understand who I am. What the heck is that story? Isn't that. Did he become a doll? What? Or was he the missing kid? I don't understand. What the heck? That story was weird. And I have no plans of understanding it. Dolls are creepy. But yeah, that's it for our last story. Before we end, let us do this again, just to clear our minds. Clubhouse. There we go. That's where we'll end it today. Thank you so much for joining me. Tomorrow, what day is tomorrow? It's a Wednesday. We'll see what we are going to play tomorrow. We might check out the new Overwatch event. It's a Wednesday. It's already November. Time flies so fast. It's already November. October has ended already. But yeah, tomorrow is All Souls Day. I'm not sure if I'm gonna stream because it is a solemn day, but we'll see. We might just stream some chill games. But yeah, thank you for joining me in reading some of the spooky stories. We still have a lot of books here. We might do this for some days of the week, just because we want to read things. Probably someday, so that we just read stories. But yeah, thank you for joining me today. We're going to Lib's stream. Lib, Yulan is currently doing a special gacha stream. And let's go there. And if you have points in that channel, you can try pulling for gacha. Thank you once again for joining me. And yeah, hope that you had fun listening to spooky stories. Take care. And yeah, don't let the ghost get ya. Thank you, Elon Musk. Oh, you were here. You were listening to the ghost stories. And yeah, thank you so much. And until next time. Bye bye. Oh, wait. I'm really a bad streamer. It's a raid message if you want to use. All right. There's the raid message. And again, tomorrow, yeah, just chill streams. And thank you so much for being here. All right. Bye bye.